That was interesting. There we go. Hey, the sound effects. There's sound effects.
You get sound effects
It's
too?
good sound effects. Yeah, I had like a robot voice going on. Here we go. No music today because today we have a special guest. This is Marcus. Marcus will be here, and you can see what's going on. Today in the bench, we are going to be doing a pedal board, and we're going to try and see what we can actually do. We'll kind of discuss what's happening, how we're going through it, kind of some of the decisions on the pedals, and make it kind of stop looking a little like this, and see if we can actually make some sort of sense out of all of these pedals and everything else that we have on the bench. So we're going to kind of clean up a little bit and come hang out, come have some conversation, and this will probably be long-winded and interesting. So ask your questions, do all the things in the comments. Thanks for hanging out, and yeah, we're just going to kind of get right into it. I'm glad I did that because the voiceover that's on it, there's no music or anything, so it's just us speaking, so you are live. But it was funny because as I had that, I'm like, when these buttons do like voice effects, so I gotta turn that off because it's like sound like Mr. Roboto. So I was like, okay, that is probably not going to be super helpful.
Is that thing made for like streaming stuff?
It is, yeah. So, and it's like I can run. So normally I actually have music going on here because I'm actually going to chop this all up. I've actually turned that all off. So, but normally I'm actually also running music into it. So I have, and it's kind of like a chill thing. Come hang out with me as I'm watching, but because we're conversing and so forth, I decided not to do that. But normally I've got a couple different channels and I can run because I use like royalty free music that streams into here, and then it's just kind of like a vibe that you're getting on here. So if you watch any of the past streams, even 5 seconds, you'll see like music, and then I'm just kind of working, and then I kind of discuss as what I'm doing. But this one will be a little bit different because we can actually talk and not have crazy music. And then also it'll be a little bit easier when I get to the editing stage because I don't have this. But we'll see what's going to go on. So I'm just going to clean up here, but perhaps Marcus, you can kind of explain what you're getting ready for and what we're getting ready to do here.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into pedal land. I've been using computers for years.
So you're not going to be on a Helix, or you're going to be on a form of a Helix.
I'm kind of going to be on a Helix.
Yeah.
Half and half.
Half and half.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just kind of want something that can do both. Yeah, because I do a lot of fly dates and stuff, right? So I want to have something that if you show up in the back line sucks.
Well, that never happens.
No, yeah, never. I have the option of using this. I'm on ears for a lot of the gigs I do too.
Yeah.
And I think this tour I'm about to go on is going to be the first one that I think we're going to kind of go like super hybrid. Like we're going to have amps, we're going to have ears, but we're going to have monitors, and we're going to be in a van bus thing. So we can actually have as much gear as we need to.
Yeah. Rather than having to pay for overweight or fly with it all, or even just the logistics of losing your luggage or anything along those lines.
Well, and like having a bit of budget too to get what you want, make it as good as you can, right?
Yep.
Don't always have that option. So, yeah, stoked to kind of see
what we can do here.
See what we can do here.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm just excited to play with buttons again, you know.
That
be lazy.
For me personally, like I actually own a Helix, and it's funny because it's like my pedal board, which is part spaceship, it does have multiple tiers and all this kind of wiring. And this is one of the other things that I do a lot of is pedal board builds and helping and assistance and stuff. And it's funny because it's like I just can't seem to get myself into enjoying a Helix, into playing it. These guys actually make it sound pretty good, and you can get some really nice sounds out of it. I don't know what it is. It's something about bending down, well, you know, but it sounds decent. I could listen to it. But, you know, like getting down and playing with a knob, being all tactile with it, I think is a huge part, at least for me personally. I like to tinker. So versus diving into menus and stuff. Though I will say we are going to be adding some MIDI to this, and Marcus hasn't gone down that avenue. So that will also be pretty cool. So when we get there, we'll start maybe programming. I don't know if we're going to necessarily do that live. I think this is more so just kind of generic setup, and then we can kind of figure out his tones as we need to. So maybe there'll be a part 2 that I'll post or something. I'm not really too sure. So we will kind of see what we do as we go. Okay, so we have all of our pedals here, and I'll flip you over back to the bench so you can see what we're doing. All right, so there we are there. Cool, so we got our board, and basically, I think as far as pedals, we have everything that we need. We got a volume, We have a Line 6 relay. This is the G70, so it's a little bit older, but still works great. It's a super solid unit. So this is our wireless guitar input. And I think we're also going to add a secondary 1/4-inch cable just in case as a backup. It's always a good plan. We also am going to be using the HX Stomp, which is going to turn into kind of our main MIDI hub, which will be exciting to blow Marcus's mind when we get there. We also have the Boss DD500, which is a great little digital delay. It's right up there with a lot of the other ones. And if you like Boss's effects, it's funny. Like a lot of people sometimes do the mix. Some people are strictly Boss, or some people are strictly Strymon, going through that line, but they sound fantastic. There's awesome delays that are in here. And this one is going to end up in our effects chain, which we'll explain as we kind of go through this. And for some drives, we've got the Electro Harmonics Soul Food. We are also going to be using the Union. This guy is the Tone Druid, which is a pretty gnarly sounding. Do you use this often?
No, this thing's like super light.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking the fuzz one.
Fuzz
That's the light one. Yeah, so that's a little bit more transparent.
No.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So is that like an always on, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, switching back and forth between the night.
Okay.
I think I used to like use this. I used to have this always on some nights.
Oh, okay.
Always off some nights.
It's funny. I find myself that I have like 3 kind of gain stages, and the first one that I always run is just like a minor, kind of like lower, something like that. Actually,
it's like a tone shaping thing. Right?
Totally.
Like,
yeah. I actually, my little secret, I have an EP booster at the end, and it's an always on. The volume's all the way off, like the volume knob's all the way off, but it just adds this like sparkle and kind of harmony in underneath, and it's funny how now when I redid my board, I actually took it off because I'm like, this seems ridiculous, and I didn't like it. I needed to have that little high end brilliance that's on there. So
I was actually thinking of just getting. I just have this for louder, but I was actually thinking I should just get one of those.
Yeah,
an EP booster instead of that.
Well, the Spark is cool because the Spark actually has a couple different options that you can do. For a lot of people don't even know about it. I can't even remember what they call it, but it's got 2 modes. Obviously, you've got your generic on or off, but then they also have their, I think they call it prime time or something, that you can actually hold the pedal down, play your line, and let go, and then you don't even have to enable the pedal, which actually is actually really cool. That was one reason why I went with the Spark myself personally. Did you know that? You didn't know that?
No.
So you actually turn it on and off like a regular guitar pedal, but you can also, if you had it right here and just hold it, you can play your line, like say it's an intro line into your course, just hold it down, play your line, and let go.
Oh,
and
I thought you were bullshitting me. I thought you were meaning did it like a delay thing or something.
No.
You know,
That's real, man.
I get it.
That's real.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that. It's kind of a hidden.
It's
kind of a hidden thing that they talk about. But that was one big reason why I actually personally went with that, because it was cool. Because sometimes you turn your gain on, and that's a whole other conversation. But how you actually get more gain, how you get more distortion, or like when you're doing like a solo boost. Some people just ramp up the volume. Some people actually will add a secondary distortion pedal. They all have their pros and cons. And then some people also go with like an EQ pedal. Again, myself personally, I actually go even with a generic Boss pedal, and I'll actually just have it kind of modded for a little bit of a mid boost. And it sounds great because I'm not actually adding any noise to my drive chain, right? So, but it all works well. The Spark is a great pedal. That will be good. We also have a compressor that's going to be starting at the beginning of that. So that's the Boss CP1. And then I think that's the last one that we have is the Hall of Fame, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as sitting on the board, this is really the first thing that you want to do is start to see kind of layout and try and figure out what it is, like how much space we have. Obviously, this is not the way it's going to go, but it's as far as just trying to see if it's all going to fit on the board, which I think we will. And I believe we're also going to try and get it all powered with the One Spot Pro. So this is, I forgot I flipped the camera. So this is going to be the CS12. So it gives us multiple options as far as power, which kind of leads us into part 2, is knowing how much all this stuff works. So we know it's going to work laying out wise, so we can get that. We do have some backup plans if we do need to. We've got an ISO power from Voodoo Labs, and I think I also saw an MXR around here somewhere.
It's underneath there.
Underneath. So. Okay, so we'll take that out because we're not going to need that. And we'll reduce any extra roadie weight. So then the next thing that we're going to want to do, and I've kind of, it's always a good idea to prep not only the layout, but also just the signal flow. Actually, probably should maybe quickly do that before we kind of get started. Is the signal flow on how we want the board to work. So in this case, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, but I believe we're going wireless in with an option to have hardwired in case something happens. And then it's going to go into the compressor. And then we're going to go into do we go union into soul food or soul food into
union into soul food.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna go into the volume before or after the compressor.
So you want to go compressor into
volume.
Into volume, okay.
Yeah, and then go into the drives, and then boost at the end of that, and then going into.
Okay, so we're going to boost going into the
Yeah.
into the stomp. Okay, and then the stomp we're going to set up an effects chain, which actually is just going to be no, because you wanted these to go into the chain. So you're just going to run you want to run the Hall of Fame in there as well, into the effects loop of the stomp.
Yeah.
Because I think we said that we're going to just run. Yeah, originally, I mean, what you texted me. I'm not that things can't change, but yeah, originally you said into the into the effects loop is going to go into the boost. So
really? Okay.
But we can do whatever. I mean, that's whatever. Like I said, that was a text that you sent me.
What would that do?
So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to go. If we're going to go into here, so let's go the other way. So we're going to go wireless into compressor into volume, or you want to go into volume into compressor.
Compressor into volume.
Okay, so we're gonna go. We'll just do this so it's a little bit easier. So we're gonna go compressor into volume, and then we're gonna go into our gain, and then we're gonna come out of our gain into our stomp.
Yes.
So what can happen is, and it depends on how you're gonna do it. The cool thing about having digital boards and digital units is that you really can set them up to do anything. So we're gonna set up MIDI presets on the stomp to actually control the DD500. But if we weren't gonna do that, and we're gonna use this, say you had a standard delay unit rather than something as beefy as this guy, then we could just run multiple units. But we're gonna run some effects in the effects loop of the stomp, and then per preset we can actually change that, which is very powerful, that we don't have to change our setup, and yet everything's gonna run off of this guy. Hopefully, allegedly. But in the effects loop, yeah, so if we were to go this way, the Spark is always, this is a fun topic, but if we were to go effects loop out and go directly into the DD500, because primarily you're gonna be using this with a slapback delay.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be doing our any modeling, IRs, things like that we actually needed to run. The main things that everyone knows and loves about the Stomp. So then we have the effects of the delays running into this, and then you could go into the trails of the Hall of Fame back into the Stomp, or we can come back into basically the pedal if we think of this as an actual guitar head. So if we come back into the guitar head and then out with a reverb trail, or you could run the reverb trail. It doesn't really make a huge difference. This would just basically run your settings off of anything that you're doing in here. So it's kind of one or the other. It doesn't really make too much of a difference on the reverb. It would change the tone a little bit depending on what channel you're going to be running with. So if you're running a delay, it can come back in here clean, and then if you were to run other mods in here, this kind of becomes redundant.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I think that's why I was thinking kind of having this usually set and forget sitting at the end is like a spring sort of thing, and have that after.
Everything. So out of the Stomp into that.
Out of the Stomp into that. Yeah. So then that would be in the effects loop.
Okay, so this is the only thing that's in the effects loop then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I mean, that's the cool thing is because we can make all the lush sounds come into the Stomp and then use everything that's on there. Now, the Spark you can do in a couple different things. For people that don't know, the Spark is literally just a volume. There's a level knob on it, and it's on or off, which is really cool. It sounds like you don't use the, I think they call it prime time, I think is what that model is. Sounds like you don't use that feature. Yeah. So this needs to be accessible, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could do one of two things. Some people will run the volume after their gain. So now we're going to be pushing, if we think dramatically, so if we've got it cranked kind of thing, if you're turning this on, you're going to be turning on you're just going to be bringing all of your gain volume up. And then it goes into your effects. So some people like that. Some people want to go after the effects. So if we've got long trails and we turn this on, now you're going to turn up your trails as well. Yeah. Which we probably don't want. No. Yeah. So it's going to go before. Yeah. Okay. But that's a great way of thinking of that. You think dramatically. That was the way that always helped me anyway, because then I'm like, okay, does it really make a difference on where I plug a pedal? Yeah. You bet your ass it does. So that's one of those things. Eventually I'll start getting into a little bit more. I call it pedal playground is what I call this stuff. So when you run a pedal on one side or the other, how much of a difference it actually makes to the pedal. But that's great because now we know what we're going to do. So we're going to go into this, into our drive, into our boost, into the Stomp, and actually even like visually, that works, right? Yeah. You can do that. Actually, would be a little bit easier because then we can grab it. All right.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And the cool thing is then we also have sends, we have returns, we have the abilities of getting to the outputs that we need. And we're not 100% sure, but we might be using the Temple Audio. It's on a Temple Audio board as well, but we also might be using the, there's just the sum, right?
Yeah, well, there's a buffer in it too.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it'll go on the side, and yeah, it sums it to mono here, or it splits it.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we can try it.
Yeah, so that's kind of the only option there. I think for wiring, we kind of have a collection of things. I think we're going to end up going with Georgel on the wiring there. So we're not going to go custom wired on this. It's kind of they all, again, have their pros and cons. The Georgel stuff is really nice and easy to work with. It's very similar to the Planet Waves that everyone, or D'Addario, the stuff that everyone's very familiar with. It's just that you can run a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter because it's a thinner wire. So, and in my opinion, it sounds a little bit nicer. It's going to give us a little bit of a better tone on everything. So the next thing I do after kind of layout, and we'll just put this aside for the time being, is I just want to double check and make sure that we have the right volume on everything, or sorry, the right power, because we need to know that our power supply can actually handle that. So this is where things get super nerdy, but in my opinion, it's probably the most important thing. Having this prepared, having this written out, having this laid out is going to help you immensely. So what I like to use actually is this one spot. This isn't a sponsored thing. It's a great little unit. It's just a milliamp meter. And all this is really going to do is give us a numeric value of what the pedal's actually drawing. So if you go online on any pedal, you can pull this up and they'll tell you the specs. But generally that's either a glamorous number, or it's at their peak, or it's just a number that they kind of suggest that it's going to be a little bit more. Because on most of these pedals, it doesn't even say how much they draw. Boss, for example, because their power supply is the 9-volt center negative, 500 milliamps, it works for basically anything, even when you start getting into the bigger units, such as the DD500s. But what I like to do is just double check all that. I have written all that stuff down from what I had in the manufacturer, and this couldn't be easier. We just run this in. I have it going into a power supply, which is plugged into, obviously, my bigger power supply, which is the Earth. And then I can run just a standard power cable. I'm not doing anything crazy with this. And all you do is we actually just wire this in the middle of it, and it will give us a digital readout. Now, I think that should be able to see it. Yeah, it looks like it's not going to flicker on us. So this is where, yeah, this is where it gets nerdy, man. I hope you're ready for it. Yeah. But all it is it's going to say, so right now it says 0. We've plugged it in, and like any other cable or any other standard one, it doesn't really make a difference. I'm just going to use this wireless cable. It doesn't really make a difference what it is, but you just need to have the trigger on there. So now it turns on, you see that the numbers are actually flicking. So the highest I saw was 70. So we can actually turn that off. So it's at 67 milliamps, 69. We'll turn it off, unplug it, goes to 0, plug it back in again. So 72 was the highest that I saw there. Yeah. So that's just the power surge when it first turns on. Great, I'm going to record that. And not that it's necessarily super important. What did I write down here? Yeah, see, it actually says 90 milliamps, so that's totally cool. But all that's really doing is reassuring that I have the right power consumptions. On all your power supplies, it's going to say the numbers, how much you can do, what its max output is, and that stuff is crucial. As you're kind of going through, I'm just going to go through and test all these pedals. And as you're going through and making sure, this is also a really good time to make sure that you don't have any weird connections. These are obviously have been played. We've also obviously been touring with them, which is great. And we just want to make sure that everything is good on them. So plug it in, turn it on. So that's a whopping 19 milliamps. This is also a really kind of a good idea as we're going through the power, kind of discussing that all together, is that, where did I write that? Yeah, so even the recommended so far is actually just a touch higher than what it's coming out at, but that's great. Yeah, as far as having the right power, amperage obviously is a huge thing. So in this case, everything's 9-volt DC. That's pretty standard. But when you're running into milliamps, this is where things get a little confusing. I'm by no means an electronics engineer, but with milliamps, the pedal or the power supply is only going to pull what it requires. But we want to make sure that we're actually giving it as much as we can. So if on your standard kind of power supply, most of these outputs are about 250 milliamps, perhaps you have some higher ones with 500 milliamps. If we had like a Strymon Zuma or the Ojai, they both do that. A lot of the jacks on the True Tones do that. Pedal Power is from Voodoo Labs. They all have a varying range on them. So we just want to make sure we can line that up as much as we can. And knowing exactly what the output is on your pedals is going to help your pedals stay alive, and it's not going to hurt your power supply either. So we can give it the same voltage, which is pretty standard. We have to really be careful on these True Tones, and just kind of showing you this. I keep forgetting I flipped this camera. So there are a couple that are actually highlight in red, and that's saying, hey, don't be a dummy and give us the 18 volts or the 9 volt. This is AC, so it's a different power altogether. So it's a great way of making sure that we're doing good by the pedal and not hurting it. And a lot of times on these ones, we just kind of unplug them, turn them back off, and just see that rating. So again, once it actually turns on, so 80 is the highest that I saw there. And what this also can do is if we have 100 milliamp output on our power supply, that's a cool thing. If we had a power supply that maybe we're running a little low on our power, we can also see if we had the ability of kind of daisy chaining pedals together. For example, a tuner and maybe something low key like a Spark, because these don't take a lot of power. So if we didn't have enough power outputs or isolated outputs, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, so this one is not isolated, the MXR,
right, yeah.
And that's why you were having ground issue noises.
For sure.
Not to speak poorly of other brands, but that's kind of the difference on that. So going with the one spot is an isolated, separate output. So if you were to run things together, like for example, this is 20 milliamps, when I turn it on, it goes to 26, and can you guess where that 6 milliamps comes from? The LED. Okay. So it's one of those things where you can actually run that on or off. But I know that 26 milliamps is well under 100. I could maybe add that with something. You want to be careful when you're doing that kind of stuff with power, though, or sorry, with gain. So if you're running that with any sort of gain, whether it's a low gain, high gain, don't do it with fuzz. You'll run into all sorts of tone issues with fuzz. But if you're doing that with any of your other pedals, you'll actually have the ability to kind of jump them together. So I would maybe do that with like a tuner and a Spark that you're using sparingly, if we had one outlet that we needed to do. Which is definitely kind of a cool little hack, if you will. Okay, so these ones are okay. These are not really what I expect. It's nothing that I didn't expect. I just wanted to make sure that all is well there. Wow. So it goes up 1 milliamp, so we're at 7 there. So there's more than enough room on that. So, and all this is really doing is, again, it's making sure everything's powering right. We're getting an accurate reading, but then we're also being able to kind of think about that as we're kind of laying that out. Where did that go? Boom, there it is. Yeah, for example, manufacturer's recommendation is 40 milliamps on that. I mean, that's still more than enough than what your pedal can do or what your power supply can do. But this is where things start getting a little interesting. So now that we're getting into obviously bigger units and digital screens and stuff, this is where we try and find and see what we can actually do. So right now we're right off to 195 when it turns on. So now it's going up to 330. And that looks to be where it's kind of hovering.
Yeah.
So it starts at about 195, and then when it actually turns on and is ready to go, it's getting up to, you can kind of see that. I don't think that's flickering too much. It actually is getting up to 330, 340. So now it's a concept of kind of remembering that. And so, and I'll bring this up in just a second. So this is kind of what we were talking about before we started here. I did have this written at 350, which is still what this is writing at. So it doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world. So we'll unplug that. And then actually we'll do that one last. And then this one should be kind of the same thing. So we turn that one on.
Oh yeah, that one turned on until.
Yeah, it's a wonderful Boss feature.
Computer.
Yeah. So the most I see there is 150, which actually is a lot less than I thought this would be. So 152. So I'm just going to do that again. Actually. Yeah, so 152, 153. And I believe that's actually, I wrote down 200 here, so that's good. Okay, so the last one, speaking of fun computers, is the HX Stomp. Now, I love these units. I think they're great for pedal boards, as some of you may even have at home. Trying to get these things powered on a power supply can be interesting because there's a lot that's actually happening on these. And what we're going to do is plug it in and see what's going on. And especially when, oh yeah, as I'm just flipping talking about it. So the first thing that comes up on line 6 amps is that you actually do need a special adapter for these. So your standard kind of power plug on everything is going to be 2.1 millimeters. On line 6, it's actually 2.5 millimeters. And I did have that adapter. So then there's another extra thing is so when you're using one of these adapters, so this is the one from, where am I? This way. Reversing the camera angle has messed me up already. But looking at this, we actually have just a line 6 adapter, and all it's doing is it's giving us that extra little girth that we need. And now it just has a socket we can plug our cable in. The other unfortunate thing is that this actually switches polarity. So we actually want to flip this over, and now we're using a polarity change as well. So now it kind of runs it all the way through. So I've actually grabbed a multimeter, and I'll show you that if you've never seen this before, but all I'm doing on my multimeter is running this to continuity, which in English, if I touch the 2 leads, it's going to show us a contact. So again, plugging into this line 6 adapter, and we're going this way. Yeah. So I'm on the sleeve here. I'm going to touch this to the sleeve on the inside. There's no signal. If I go to the tip, you can hear it there. And then what happens on our standard power cable, so this is just a regular power jack. I'm on the sleeve here. I'll run it to the sleeve here. Maybe. There you go. So I'm on the sleeve. So all that really means is that the cable is going into, they're going into different leads. So the sleeve of this is going to the tip, which we don't want that because that can also cause issues. And that's one of those things you'll see on the back of your pedal. At least you should. If not, go to the specs on your pedals. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this, is go to the specs from the manufacturer of the pedal that you have, and you can go check that out. But it will actually give you a signal telling you what the center tip is, and that's crucial as well to make sure that we're actually giving it correct power, but then also not frying anything, whether that's the pedal or your power supply. So what we're going to do is use the wonderful adapter. So now we kind of have this like, whatever, we got a little party of adapters here. There's a couple different things we can do. We could actually just custom make this cable and actually cut and eliminate all of this. That's one option. There's 2 other things that we can do, but I'll explain that in just a second. So now that we're going to plug this in, so now it fits, as originally it didn't. I always do the dummy check. It's like, maybe it's just, no, it doesn't work. Okay, so here's the power here. So generally these ones that have bigger screens and stuff is where the power really starts to draw. So there we are. So we're at 670 now, 676, 683, 700, 861, 865. So it's up there, 920, 950. So yeah, so it's definitely up there. So there's a lot of stuff, and if you're on forums and lurking, and you know, I won't go down that avenue, but if you are doing that kind of stuff, you'll see a lot of people that are saying that they plug this cable connection, so they have the size difference as well as the polarity switch difference, and then they're just running it into a standard power adapter. However, I would feel quite strongly that they're not actually checking to see how much power it is, because they just say, oh, I plug it in and it turns on. Well, yes, it will power, it will turn on, because we are sending the most of that. We don't know exactly what the power is doing in the sense of like maybe their screen is perhaps dimmer. It's not quite as bright. We could probably change those settings and lower that actually. You can turn off the flashing of the rings. That would also lower our power consumption. But in order for this to work kind of happy as we want it, it's a great thing, and that's where this comes invaluable, is you can actually see how much power it's drawing. And now we're actually looking at a fair amount of draw. So now we kind of have 2 options, and this goes to you, Marcus, is that we can either run this into, now that I said it's the worst thing ever, you can either run this into one of your, we only have 2 9 volts, 500 milliamps. Now, if I just remember that correctly, the 2 that were kind of our highest output was the wireless at 330, 350 milliamps, as well as this guy. So we can do one of 2 things. We can run the wireless separately. You can run a separate power onto that. We can also use what's called a current doubler. And now it's another adapter that we're using on this guy, but now we have the ability of connecting 2 of our outputs together to actually double the power. So for example, if we take the 2 500s, now we're getting 1 amp, which is giving it basically exactly what it wants. So it's going to give this stomp all the power. It's going to be happy. There won't be any issues there. There are a lot of things that are going one way or another. People saying that they can just run it off of one 500 milliamp. To be honest, I don't know what is going to happen if it's not fully powered. And that's really kind of the question to you. So if you wanted to run that as a 500, you're seeing how much it's actually drawing from. So the only thing that might come into handy, because I don't think we have anything higher than that. We have the two 500s, and then everything else is 100 milliamps. And I wish I had my AC to DC adapter. There is actually an adapter that One Spot sells, and it basically kind of looks like this. And it has a line in, it's not quite as large, but it has a transformer in it, and it actually will switch AC to DC. So, and now it's 800 milliamps. So what you could do is use the wireless. If you wanted to go, I guess that's the first question is, do you want to give this the right amount of power?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So if we're going to do that, we're going to go with a current doubler. And that is really one more cable adapter on the other side of this, which is fine because it's all going to be strapped down underneath the board anyway. But now we're going to give this the right amount of power. So in my opinion, I would say that's actually a good call. So now you have to come up with another option with the wireless.
Right.
So whether we ran with just a separate IEC outs or a regular standard power cable, moving forward, like I said, I was looking through my stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have one. I did have one where I actually changed that from AC to DC. So for the time being, that would probably be something that you could order.
Got it.
And bring in just a little adapter, and now you just have to switch that out. So for the time being, you could have it on the board and you have to use either a power adapter or something like that. Because we could also underpower it too. What do we have? 1, 2, those two are gone.
Because you said that was 300, right?
Yeah, so it's just a little bit over. So you could go with one of the 250s, but then again, the same thing, it might be a little spotty here and there. So
it's spotty already, so...
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. And I mean, it's going to be like you could do that. We don't have anything else that's drawing. The other one that would be the high power would be the delay. So you could run that on the 250.
What was the delay?
Sorry?
What was the delay at?
It manufacturer says 200 and we were measuring it at 150.
Okay. Yeah. So that's fine on here. So yeah. Well.
Yeah. So the only kind of thing that comes into question is the wireless. So whether you wanted to, I mean, even for the time being, and that's my bad. That was me not being prepped for it. But yeah, because like I said, like this adapter is, it is what it is. Just remind me, I'll show you what that is, and then we can actually just get that in, and then that you can flip it around because we want to make sure that we don't plug it in, and they make that plug larger as well, by the way. So you can't actually get a standard cable in there for a reason. That way you don't actually plug your DC cable. You didn't quite see that in camera, but so they actually make the AC jack on most of these a different size barrel so that you can't get your standard cable and accidentally plug it into AC because that will be the pyro show that you didn't know you wanted. So yeah, that would probably be the best thing to do is for the time being is perhaps use it with a power adapter. Yeah. If you have the ability to do that, order that in. It shouldn't take very long from that wonderful Jeff will give you one, and then you have the ability of then having everything wired on the one power supply. Yeah. The really cool thing also I didn't mention on the One Spot, if you do any international travel, these things are awesome because it does actually have the transformer in the back. So you can actually switch that from 115 to
that's actually so good
from 220. So it's, to the best of my knowledge, I believe it's one of the only ones that does it. I think maybe like the Chucks or something like that, they also have those as well. I don't see those often enough.
That's all you have to do, and then you just need an adapter?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, you just flip that, and now it's going to give you the right power. Like the Strymon stuff doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So again, it's not the end of the world. It's just the nerdy stuff that you need to know so that when you go to your show and you plug it in, it doesn't blow up on you.
I think we're going to the UK next year, so
there you go.
I actually needed to know that.
There you go. So yeah, so all you need is just the adapter to go into the power, and then just flip that switch, and then remember to flip that back when you come back, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that makes sense. And just to show you that, I did have some of the stuff laid out. Where did I put that? Oh God. That's your board, man. That's what it looks
sick.
like. That's your board.
Man, it's crazy how much easier it is when you just explain it.
Oh yeah. Well.
yeah. That stuff overwhelms me. But I've also had never had anyone actually lay that out for me before.
Totally. And I mean, again, I don't want to say anything bad about people online and their knowledge and all this kind of stuff because that's how we all learn. That's the
Yeah.
whole point. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this, is because this is how we learn. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I perhaps know a little bit more, or whatever. I've come across this in time, and having a little tool. I don't even remember how much I paid for this. $40, $50. If you do a lot of pedal boards, I do that. This seems like a no-brainer to have. But even for someone that has maybe a lot of pedals at home and you're not really too sure, I've also seen people that actually will just write that on the bottom. So they'll take like a little, maybe like a label maker or something, and actually write how much power is on the bottom. It's a brilliant idea, because now you know. Especially if you run in, maybe you're on a stage and something happens and one of your pedals goes down and you're like, oh, I only have one jack. I don't know if it's going to work, because naturally you just want to grab the cable and plug it into the other one. But if it's on a different channel, we may not have the right matchup there, right? So this is the other addition that we have. This is a current doubler. So they make a current doubler and a voltage doubler, two totally different things. So if we had a voltage doubler, it's going to take these two 9 volts and obviously turn that into an 18 volt circuit, which if we had 18 volt pedals, that would be fine. Also, the Union doesn't do 18, eh? The Union is only, sometimes they do, and sometimes...
I thought I had something that was one or the other, but I guess not.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that would give us another output too, because then you can run something on the 18 volt side. And then they only have the one that you have the drag on. So we have the one with the adjustment that can either go to 4, 2, or to 9 volts, but it also has the dip switch too, I believe. Which I think is...
No, that's just for setting the 9 and
it's
12,
for those
it?
4, but I think it's 5. We'll have to double check that. I think you have it off, but we'll just double check that. And I think it's 5. You can actually turn it on, because that's why it has 2 different numbers. So on one mode, because on these ones, the dip switch is going to go from 9 to 12. And on the last one, it goes from 9 or 4 to 9 volt. And then you can actually adjust it.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something you would want to use a meter with to see what your output is.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you're giving it the right power. So, and then, sorry, just to wrap up on the doubler. So the voltage doubler would take the 2 of those. It would go to 18 volts. In this case, we're going to go out of the 2 9 volt, 500 milliamp. And now we have 1 amp coming out. So now we're using the current doubler. So it's going to stay 9 volts. It's not doubling that. It is doubling our current. And now we have the ability of powering this. And we won't just have any issues worrying about the stomp. So it'll be super stable. It's doing the correct thing. We're not hurting the power supply. We're not hurting the pedals. And we only have really one kind of exception to make happen with the wireless.
I guess my one thing with this, would there be any chance that, well, I guess now that's sitting comfortably there, so that doesn't make a difference really. Do you think there would be any sort of change, like depending on how much processing you were doing with it? Doesn't seem like it.
Not really. Yes, it will. If you're running a lot of different mods, that's actually a good question. If you had like a lot of IRs or a lot of like heavy delay effects on there, we can test it. I don't know if you have something preset.
I don't think I have anything loaded up right now, but like there's definitely situations where I'm going to be doing something sort of like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, even as you're toggling through everything, you can see how the screen is changing pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily on processing power. It's more so on the visual display that we're doing, the lights, the flashing, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you had anything, even if you had a blank one, you could throw a couple like reverbs on or something.
That's a good point.
Just to see, because that's a good question. Because I mean, it's definitely a good way to go. I don't see we're going to have any issues with running into power, because we're also giving it. I don't even remember what I measured that at.
I swear it was at like 900 when we first plugged it in, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I actually wrote that down. I was so excited to show you what that did.
Yeah.
I forgot to write down the number.
I thought when we first plugged it in, it was
I think you're
quite
right.
a bit higher.
Yeah.
But this doesn't seem to be changing.
So we can try that. We can actually just unplug it and plug it back in again and see what it does. I think you're right, though. I think it did go up to 9 during the boot up screen.
Right.
So 660, 700, 860, 914, 950. Yeah, so you're at 950. That is there. And with that being said, though, our standard... Okay, so I'm actually just watching that. So now we're at 930, 940. It's actually not going down.
It was kind of weird, eh?
Mm-hmm. When you're on kind of a standard preset there, it was rolling around like 700. 700, yeah. With that being said, though, we are still... There you go. So now it's just jumped down to 7.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's maybe on the preset screen or on the edit screen that you're on.
No, because I was like moving around doing the same stuff before.
Yeah, interesting.
Just takes a sec.
Yeah, it just takes a second, but again, that's kind of a good thing because we're kind of looking at our peak average, right? So we're just trying to see what the power is. However, I will say that not one of those numbers was under 500 milliamps. So if you are just running it off of 500 milliamps, it just means that the pedal isn't doing or not getting all the power that it needs. And obviously that could run into some issues. So it is one of those things where it's great to know. I really don't see it happening, even if you have the odd peak that's going to go over it. It's not constantly running over that. So it's not an issue. Milliamps are a little bit different from voltage. Obviously, you want to make that match as best as you can. And that's why we're going to go with a current doubler, which I think is a great idea, because all of these numbers are hovering about 700. So we're actually, like, in this case, like 2 pedals difference between what the power supply can do and what the pedal's actually requiring, which now you're underpowering the pedal over time. That will start to cause problems.
Yeah.
This is also where noise becomes induced into your signal. Perhaps there's a buffer. Again, I'm not saying this pedal is, but just in general, that's where the buffer is activated, is that extra power if you have an active buffer in it, such as the Strymon stuff. So all that kind of stuff comes into play. So it's definitely good. And even if we have the odd surge over that, it's not constant. It's a very rapid kind of thing. So I wouldn't be worried about that. Right. So it's a great question, because actually I didn't know if that would make a difference if it's processing heavy, because obviously there's more work happening internally, but I think we're good there. So now the next thing is kind of just figuring out layout on the power supply, and then we can start applying pedals. So there's all of that. That's a great little thing. And the other cool thing about this is that it also gives us a cable tester on top. So it's kind of your one-stop shop, if you will. So we can just keep the power plugged into that, and you just plug your cable in. If I had just a standard one, I don't, but we'll show you there. We'll show you that when we get there. But basically you just plug the two. Oh, that also works. Thank you. Yeah, so you can just plug the 2 ends into it, and you'll just get this very, very graphic display of a blue light. And then if it wasn't working, you would not have a blue light. So it's pretty foolproof in the sense of, does my cable work? And especially if you're working with solderless stuff, it is crucial to kind of know that. I mean, even if you're soldering your cable, but I have very good confidence in my soldering skills, not all the time on my solderless skills. So that's just a good thing to have as we kind of move forward. So. And I think we're going to kind of do custom length. I don't know if we're going to be cutting power, eh? I think we're probably going to be okay with...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see how much we have, because that's the cool thing with all the different cable lengths as well, is that depending on what your run is, if it's too excessive, we probably don't want to be running this huge antenna underneath, because if you're doing this, because you have too much power underneath your board, that stuff is going to cause noise. Yeah. So we want to kind of be moderate with that. We don't have to have it like super clean, as I say with my OCD brain. That's happy or not happy that I said that. So yeah, so we got all sorts of different lengths here. So we can kind of see what happens here. Yeah, I mean, we may not have to go custom length. There's a fair amount of short ones. And honestly, if we're cutting off like a small section, we're not really gaining any benefit. Right. Just my bill to you. So okay, cool. So let's start from the top and get the board up here, and we'll kind of progressively get up here. Yeah, I don't think we're going to need this. I think we solved that problem, and we'll come back to that.
Take the MXR bullshit off too.
Oh yeah.
That's just like
So the one different on power supplies, I mean, that's always generally the first question that I always get asked is my power supply good enough? And in this case, no. So in the MXR, especially the older version, I will say this is the older DC brick. This is actually not an isolated output. There's a reason why it doesn't weigh very much. There isn't a transformer in there that's giving us separate isolated outputs, such as the One Spot, the Voodoo Labs, all the ones that we know. The new version of this, they call it the ISO brick, is actually isolated outputs, because people are like, dude, what's going on? Mr. MXR, what is going on? Actually, do we need this? Are we gonna...
I got a bunch of them.
Okay. But yeah, so that would be... this is also going to cause noise. This is very similar. That's the next question, is power supply. And then like, well, I have one of those one-spot power adapters that has the daisy chain cable. Does that work? Yes, it will power everything, but it doesn't actually have isolated outputs. And that's a huge, huge thing with getting a clean board. Because if we don't have that in our board, it's just going to be carrying that noise all the way through. So it's definitely a good thing to eliminate that and kind of figure out what it is that we can, the best way to kind of do that. So All right, so we have this power. This is the Temple stuff, which is a cool design. I do like their designs. Obviously, we are putting it here. I can kind of put two and two together.
Well, I mean, we don't have to if it was an easier thing to get this all the way over there. So
Yeah, I'm just trying to see, because I mean, we can always move the Velcro. See what you
we can
can
move this too.
We can also move that as well. Yep. So yeah, I mean, if we needed to, is there a better way that this fits?
Well, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Or if it was upside down that way, and then that could kind of go here, right? Like if we move this over.
Yep.
Set that in there.
Yep. Okay.
But then,
Yeah, because then the only thing you got to watch out for, I remember this actually, the one thing you got to watch out for is just this angle,
yeah.
which I think is what you're saying.
And we also have to get.
Well, yeah, I mean, plugging it in is one thing.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's just throw this out. Yeah, it's kind of as much as we can to keep it nice and clean would be ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if I remember right, it like just clears.
It does.
Right.
Yeah. So these feet are they kind of help you with that angle.
Oh, a little gross down there.
Yeah, part animal down there.
Oh God.
So yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Dusty stages and all that fun stuff. And if you're sitting on here, yeah, that's another thing that gets a little interesting because it won't fit that way.
No.
How did you normally have that?
I think I had it the other way last time, which is probably not ideal.
Oh, okay.
either,
Then the
right?
power comes that way. Yeah, yeah. No, that works because then because these cables are much smaller. The power cables are much smaller.
It was just a real pain though to get in at that after.
Yes.
Right?
Well, hopefully we don't have to do that too often. But yeah, you are right. So this one is not ideal but we can put the right angles on every other side.
Cool. Yeah, it should clear. I mean, it was working
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. I'm just gonna try and hold that in place anyway. Yeah, no, there is enough of a clearance in there. This is the official clearance checker. Yeah, so we can go straight up. So it's definitely close. Don't be playing on the top of any peaks, and I think you'll be good. Okay. Probably can't be this creative, eh? You think we can be this creative?
I don't know. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Well, it's
Some pretty high-end Velcro, I'm pretty
it's
sure.
the word. Wow, I've got. So actually, before we do that,
That's awful.
I just want to double check that dip switch.
Right.
No, we had this upside down anyway. It's okay. So I can still do that.
Okay.
I'm almost positive that the way that you have it set is it's just running as a 9-volt, like in standard 9-volt mode.
Yeah, I'd hope so, because that's what it was
Yeah.
at for.
But again, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the reason why something goes up in smoke.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's very exciting stuff. You know what I might do? I might just Google that.
Google how to take a Velcro off?
Yeah, no, Google how to. I mean, that also would work, but Google. What did we do?
Yeah, well, you had it sitting like that, I guess. Right?
I had it going the wrong way because we're going to go that way.
Because we got to get the power to reach over there.
Yeah, but how the hell did we do that? Oh, I guess it doesn't really make a difference now. Yeah, that'll be a thing.
I mean, if that's gonna sit like that, would almost rather have it like that, just for the reason that.
Yep.
You got access.
We can actually get to it.
cables,
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
But then it's also, and yeah, there's no clearance. Right.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be close, but yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
If anything, it's a nice encased cavity, like itself, so you should be okay. Yeah, let's see if we can. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to redo it
Yeah,
anyway.
we are gonna have to take that off. No, that is a lot better that way.
Yeah, I would agree. Because then we have the ability of actually troubleshooting when and if we needed to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
So let me actually just move this so that all of our friends can see. Cool. All right. Well, this is the fun stuff. This is the hurry up and wait. This is why you generally have a cup of coffee. Every time that I do pedalboard, I don't know what it is. It's just like I need coffee. I just need like chill time. I just don't have music going today because obviously we're conversing and stuff, but it just makes it that much better. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me, but coffee and then after I finish, I'm like, man, that was really good. I gotta go get a coffee.
Yeah.
I live on coffee, it seems.
I'll do a coffee run at some point.
Yeah. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do
Heat gun.
heat gun. Yep. Everyone's favorite sound. And we'll just quickly take this Velcro off. It's gonna do two things. One, we don't need the Velcro on here. Two, we can actually see what's going on with our we can actually see what's going on with our the dip switches. It's actually probably going to roast that more than anything. You can smell that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cook it. I'm just trying to loosen the adhesive underneath. Wow, that is really on there.
I won't be too upset if you have to scrape it off with a knife or something.
Oh, I do have that. That was the next thing I was going to do.
Yeah.
I was going to see if this actually worked quickly, but I don't know if it's going to work quickly. It's actually how I take off like pick guards and stuff, because it comes pretty quick in that sense.
I knew there was going to be such a huge pulling Velcro section of the video.
Well, this is the exciting stuff, man. I think that's part of it, honestly. Like, as far as these videos, like, I find myself, like, when I was learning how to do this stuff, you know, someone's like, hey, here's the repair that I'm doing, and here's how broken and smashed it is, and then they just show you a completed guitar or whatever, and you're like, okay, but,
Yeah.
like, what about that mid 3 weeks that you just did there? Like,
that's where the nerd part comes in.
that's where the nerd part comes in,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's kind of what this is all about.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously with pedal boards, I don't know what it is, but pedal boards, everyone does it a different way, everyone builds it a different way, and they're like, oh, I never thought about that.
Oh,
like
man.
different styles and techniques and wiring. Like I said, that's going to be one of the things I want to get into a little bit, is start getting into when I start doing my full-on content, not so much on just the lives, but actually film things. Is here's where this can line up, and here's where, you know, here's what happens when we put our EQ on this side of the, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole other conversation. And without me giving too much away, I think I've actually got some friends that are going to be coming in to do that with us. So
Nice.
there we go. Just shortly wind myself. Holy crap. Yeah, there's the dip switch settings that I was looking for.
That's what happens when you get someone like me doing this stuff.
Oh,
They're
cool.
like, oh, that doesn't seem too important.
Yeah, I don't know. Numbers, measurements? Nah, that seems like nerd stuff. Yeah, so you have the ability of switching this depending on what side your dip switch is on. So we can either be, so we have a couple different variable ones where it's either in 9 volt or it's in 12 volts, both at 100 milliamps. And then the other one that we have, it's either in 9 volt or it's in 4 to 9, which then this little wheel comes into play. So it is correct, you are right, but now we know. We don't have to worry about it. We're good. Did you say, I got some Velcro too. Did you say you had some Velcro?
Yeah. It's right here. It's good for shovels and pedal boards.
Well, we can attach a shovel to your pedal board. You never know.
You never know.
You might be able to double dip in some of those back east shows.
Yeah, I know, eh?
Cool, cool. All right, so we got this and we got this. Do you want to do the same thing? You want to do like a strip?
Yeah,
Okay.
so. Seem to hold on pretty good.
Yeah, I would say so. My arms have a heartbeat right now, so I think it worked.
How did you attach the stuff on?
I had all the temple guys.
No, but on
that one, I used the what is that stuff? It's the higher grade ones, the 3M stuff. I'm trying to think of the numbers off the top of my head, but it's like it's intense.
Yeah.
So, but you only need to do like this in the corners. So, but it's super like it just holds very well. I've always used this Velcro stuff. This is like that industrial strength Velcro that everyone always seems to kind of use, which works great because it can hold 10 pounds, which is more than what we need. But yeah, that I'm trying to think what the heck that stuff is. Mason Mangella actually always talks about, the guy from Vertex. He's always talking about those corners, and it works great because you apply it, and normally I'm the same way. Just like cover the thing in Velcro, hope for the best. But it's like you do this tiny little corner. I'm like, there's no way that's gonna hold, and you literally need like a furniture remover to take it off your board. Wow. So it's like, okay, I think that's good. So when I'm doing my show at the local SPCA, I think I'll be.
You're doing more than that. Give yourself more credit. You played at the old folks' home last week.
That's yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I did soup and a bagel day. It was
wow.
Yeah, it was a big
I had
day.
to put the teeth in for that one.
It's a big day.
Other side, right?
What's
Did
that?
we say that? Did we say we're going like this?
Yeah, but
And then
oh yeah.
that one?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
No, you're right. You know what? That was a test.
Okay.
I wanted to see if you were paying attention,
right.
and you were. So congratulations.
Or you just wanted to put it back on where you ripped it
Well,
off
it was funny that you mentioned that because it's like I just fought with it, and I was like, oh, da 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 da, and I was like, yeah, let me do that again. Actually, it's not so bad when you first put it on.
No.
Because it doesn't adhere. When you have part tumbleweed underneath your pedal board, then I think it's been. You didn't vacuum it before you went like online with it? Man, the comment section's gonna go nuts on you.
I did clean a little bit before I came over here, but apparently not enough.
Yeah, that's all good. So plug that in first. It's generally a good idea. Actually, the other thing we can do, just to make sure, again, before we do all that, is just plug it in, make sure we have signal, and that our toggle works.
There's a light on.
There's a light on. Now there's a light that goes off. Perfect. That's something I've learned a lot. Test it before you put it all back together again. All right, so kind of going as tight as we can. It also will give us a little bit, we don't want to go too tight against the power, but it will also give us kind of like a security against that popping out. But more so than not, we're actually trying to make sure we get as much clearance on the angle that comes down on this. Just kind of do this. Oh, I'll go this way.
Yeah.
See, not just a pretty face. All right, cool. So we have that. And that's good. And then let's do that test. I think we should be okay.
Yeah.
No.
No? Just rocking on it?
Yep.
I mean, I could get bigger feet.
You could.
I'd almost rather do that.
I mean, this is certainly much cleaner. If you did that, you just have to change these feet.
Yeah,
out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That's an easy
bigger feet.
That's an easy thing to do anyway.
Yeah.
See, look at that. Yeah. Troubleshooting on the fly.
Dang it.
We got it. Okay, hopefully we get some weight on here so this stops rocking on me because that's going to make me want to break something.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. I know a guy. All right, so let's start putting things together. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to go into the wireless. So we'll use the quick connect. We'll put this in, but of course now we can't because of the power supply. That's the other drawback.
That's the other thing.
You have to kind of think about that because now with this section in here has been.
See, I think this board is part of the reason why I took 2 days last time I tried to build something because of situations like this.
Yeah.
And then I had pieces of Velcro and I had.
The one thing is though we only really have this one section. So if we could keep the. If we could put the Blake, if we could take that off, then that would be fine.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how we're gonna lock into that. Because it does actually fit. We just can't actually
Get the screw on.
Put the wheel in. However, these are the only two that's gonna impact.
Yeah.
So we can either strap it or we could just, you know, put the Velcro on. What I was just going to say is that because we can just put the thumb wheel in underneath, and then when we do the cable, it's a quick and easy thing.
Yeah.
We won't have to worry about that at this moment kind of thing. And then how are we on the volume side? I think this top one, maybe?
I think so.
Nope.
Yeah.
So what we could do is we could move this over so we can catch this.
Okay.
So we'll give this one basically. Do you want this like right on the?
Yeah, I think so. As far over, I think, as we can get.
Yeah. So we'll go. I think we're somewhere. Yeah, wait for it.
Yeah,
wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh, got some of it. I think that's both of them there. Yeah.
You ever have a board with a volume pedal like right next to a drive right here, and you go to hit your solo boost and you go like that?
On my new board, it's
I've
actually
done that before.
it's actually my drop tune that I have sitting here.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's like check out this and it actually okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, I have it in baritone setting today.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so the other issue is I don't think that the wheels work in that giant hole, eh? Do they work in that?
I don't know. Yeah, I think they do. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
It's on there.
Nice. So the other one is off by just a scooch. So what we'll do is we'll just give this a little bit more space. We'll just slide this. It sounds like the Velcro's coming off, but that's okay. Sorry for that peeling sound. That's my least favorite sound of Velcro. Oh. Yeah, that's a good stick. That's sticking well.
All right.
So let's use another one. We'll just put that in, and then we'll put the power up to that.
Yeah, that's on there.
Velcro's on the part of that. Yeah, okay. Trying to make sure we're actually catching as much Velcro as we can here.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so we have that, and then that's. It actually might be the Velcro. The Velcro may possibly be dropping with that too.
Oh, really?
It might just be the weight of that.
Oh, yeah. Not sticking on that good.
Yeah, so what we might
zip tie in there.
I was just gonna say what we might be able to do is just throw a strap in there just to kind of give us that clearance. So then this guy is coming next. So the one thing that I always like to do is I try and figure out a couple different things. So we are going to be running with Georgel cables, which is what I threw here. So you can kind of run, and I run them. They come with a little like jacket, and then they come with like this little jacket, which makes it look all nice and fancy, and of course you're promoting it. But you actually get a little bit more clearance if you take them off.
Yeah.
So if we do something like that, oh, actually this one that's the oxen. That's what we're needing, right? That's the one we're going to be using. Yeah. So we'll actually go pancake.
Okay.
So on the far end there, we'll just grab one of those. And then we're going to do a hardwired one. So throw the plug in of whatever it is that you're using. And then when you have the ability, now we have the ability of seeing exactly how much clearance we need, which is nice. And then we're also thinking about power as much as we can. That's the cool thing about these the Temple Audio boards is that you have these little like cable access. If it was a flat board, which is what I normally build on, then you start doing like the OCD wiring and stuff. But so you can kind of run this anywhere. It looks like anything that we're doing, we're going to be stuck, but we could actually double use that strap.
Yep.
Right? So we can actually throw that strap in over this all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we were to, and then it'll give us what we need, but you can get that nice and tight in there.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then it also gives you just a little bit of clearance. So before we go too far, let's just see what else we need. So this guy, because we're going in compressor volume. Sorry, is that what you said? In volume, compressor volume.
Compressor volume, yeah.
Yeah. So what probably makes sense is to come out next. And again, we'll go Georgels. And then we'll cut these to length and stuff, so that's not a problem. What I'm trying to do is just kind of figure out our placement. Also, I just plugged a cable in and the battery's turned on. So we're going to take the batteries out
Oh yeah.
because we have a power supply inside of there, so we don't need a battery. And that will prevent any form of... Yeah, it's okay. It's all good. Because we don't need that in there. And in some cases, I mean, it's not that you're giving it more power, but in some cases, obviously, that'll start draining and causing all sorts of issues. So we'll see if that happens anywhere else. But and then the other cool thing is too is, I mean, that cable is really small because we're coming right out of the wireless into that. And then we're going to be, okay, so we're somewhere around there. Does this actually lock in? This one actually might get affected by that too. We might, or we could, oh no, we just caught it. Okay. So yeah, well, might as well mount that one. Nice. There you go. So now you can actually throw that, and now we know that's just a small one going to the wireless, which is going to sit right here, and then we have another one that's going to be sitting on this end, which then has to go into the volume. And then, so that's okay. That's giving us all the clearance. That's great. And then we're going to come out of this into our drives, which is going to be probably coming down on this end. So the cool thing about these, and then it depends on how far we want to go. So let's just leave that for the time being.
Yeah.
These cables I'm not too worried about because these ones obviously we have a little bit more space. And then we want to actually run this guy.
Yeah, probably put the stomp down there.
Well, it's not like on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're going to do like that. Or do you want to go up or do you go...
I guess this, because that's just solo, don't want to think about it, right? And then, probably put that like a little bit. I don't really know.
Or do you want to do something, do you want to do like this kind of stuff? Because we probably have the space, you have the space here, sort of.
Yeah, probably like, I don't want it that far down because then it's, I got some foam cut out for it. I don't want that stuff to be overhanging. Yeah, probably like that kind of thing. And then my boost is still far away enough that I'm not gonna.
It's separated.
Step on anything.
And it's not too close. Even if you're wearing clown shoes, you're not.
No,
gonna,
I know. That's what I was thinking for this.
You're not gonna hit that.
Well, and this is more of like a, like I'm not using this as a booster, like rock mode. You know. Sweet.
Cool. So that gives us enough there.
Yeah.
So then what we'll do is we'll just kind of fire these guys in. So that one's gonna be on the end. Let's see if we can get these guys in position. That's the one thing I will say that's nice, rather than having to pull up all your Velcro and stuff all the time. So then the
that ripping sound.
Yeah, well, that's one. So that one, but it's also trying to get those little plates.
Yeah.
In.
So we maybe want to try the depending on because we probably want that there, because then we can have that, and then it's kind of going to depend on if we want to use this or not. For if we want wire down too.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. What were these from?
Oh, I had another fucking metal on there. I had a zap strap combo on there.
Yeah.
I was using a bunch of the I ran out of the Planet Waves cable.
Okay.
So I was using those connectors.
Oh yeah.
Stick two boss pedals together. And
I mean,
everyone says not to, but
yeah, it does the trick. But again, that's all going to get in the way of everything else we're trying to accomplish there. So
yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm just trying to find the
happy spot.
I think that might be it.
Yeah.
And then we even have a little bit of space here if we need to move that over, just so we have the clearance on all of our edges. So also when it's in a bag and sitting in the back, it's not going to fall
and because you're saying we are going to have the ability to use this as our only tap, right?
Yep. So what is the other unit that's happening? It goes inside or it sticks on top?
It sticks on top.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. And then that's going to go into the back there, so that's cool. And then we just have to know what's going to go on. So this is on the side.
here.
Yeah, so we got MIDI out. going to in, which actually these should work. I just have to, the cool thing about these are actually from Bestronics, and you can order these online in custom lengths. I think that's actually my longest one. But the cool thing is that it's actually reversible head, meaning that if you've ever seen a MIDI cable, you've got all these different angles. So we should be able to just sort of barely make that.
Yeah, out.
So we got out going to in, so that'll be a little tight, but we should be okay with that.
Sweet.
And then the cool thing is that you can actually change the head angle on that, so it gives you.
Because what is a MIDI cable? Is it like 8?
Well, Marcus, MIDI is a music instrument digital interface. No,
like,
it's a 5-pin, and it's basically just like some people call it a digital connection, but really all it's doing is it's giving us the same kind of connectivity, and it.
Yeah, but is it like a specific cable you gotta get?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the MIDI is giving us the data information, and that's really all this is doing. It doesn't carry audio; it's only carrying like data, and that's going to be our tap tempo program changes. So basically, we have to address these as different channels. Actually, you don't really have to because we're only using 2 units. But if you had multiple units, you would say this is on channel 1, this is on channel 2. But it's no different if you're like on your keyboard in your studio and you kind of like start. It's the same concept, but we can actually get our guitar pedals to do that as well. A really cool thing to be super nerdy with you is that you could actually get your front of house guy to set up a program, and if he's doing program changes in his board and you had a MIDI module, or if you're running tracks from the back, you can actually set your main brain up to do, for example, each song.
Yeah.
So now you have an input that comes from your tracks of your drummer or front of house, and now every time that they change the song, it changes this, which then changes your whole board. And now you can be hanging from the ceiling and your board's doing all the changes it needs to, which is crazy powerful.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit to kind of get wrap your.
Have you ever set that up?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and also light shows and all that kind of stuff. So, like for example, if you're in Ableton, you can actually literally hit play.
Yeah.
It's a pretty common playback system, Ableton, and then you can send all your tracks, but you can send MIDI data. And I've actually set it up on stages where there's tracks that go to the drummer, but when the drummer starts the song, it triggers the Helix boards. Same concept though, we can do the same thing here, but it actually will trigger the boards. It also changes the light show, and it also changes the lyrics and stuff happening up on the stage, all by the press of hitting on start.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly powerful if you have the time and patience to set that kind of stuff up, but it's very powerful.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff. Super nerdy, but I love it.
Yeah, the band I'm building this for now, we don't even have. We don't even play. Well, we have a drummer. We don't even play the click. So we're. This is me kind of
being able to do that on your own.
Trying to be as spacey as I can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're good there. I think what we'll do, and then we're gonna Velcro this, or do you have another plate?
I don't have I don't have a fresh plate now, so I think we'll just go for that. Well, and then it's easy enough for me to. I'm probably gonna be pulling that on and off occasionally because I will sometimes have to. No, actually, I won't have to use that for my pedal steel. Never mind. No, that will be on there permanently. Yeah, I don't have another plate though.
Okay.
Or do I? No, just like old one. Is this adhesive? I don't know what all this crap is.
Those are your adhesives.
All right, those are my adhesives.
Are these are those are just the wrappers from them.
Yeah, that I should have thrown out. Is what you're saying?
Something like that. And then is that one?
These are a bunch of little guys.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you could go with like 2 of them if you had them.
2 little ones. I've got that guy, and I've got that guy.
Yeah. So yeah, you do have 2 of them. So what you could do, that would be a fun project for you.
Yeah.
As I keep going, I can give you actually, I got some isopropanol and stuff, which works really well for cleaning that residue off. They do give you these alcohol pads, but it's really the same thing, just so you can kind of get back to the surface. But basically, yeah, you got 2 new adhesives in there, so we could just put 2 smaller ones like on the corners if you want to do that, or we could just Velcro down. I mean, it's up to you.
Just Velcro.
Okay. So what we'll do, actually, we'll get there in a second. So the next thing that we're gonna kind of run is our power. So I want to just make sure that we've got everything that we need, and then we can. So power supply is sitting on this end. So obviously our short ones are gonna go closest to the power adapter, and our long ones will go through. So these 3, for example. I think I actually even have some smaller ones, so that we don't have to.
Yeah,
because that's a little excessive. Let me go take a peek.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm Marcus.
Hi, Marcus. I'm Andy.
Nice to meet you. We're having fun. We're nerding out.
Are you guys still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. How are you? Good. How was school?
Hey, dude.
Cool. I'll come chat with you in a bit, bud. All right, so this is where the stuff gets super fun. Actually, I'll just get
This already looks cooler just because of your placement.
Yeah, well, and I mean it's well, yeah, basically awesome. No, but it's being able to have the practical layout also sonically. So we want it to do this. We want it to run this particular way, and so now you have that ability. And because we don't necessarily have to get to these buttons. In the sense of like you have to like reach over and tap on it. That's a great thing too, because now you don't have to worry about that, right? So
wild, eh?
yeah, so it will be very spaceshipy, and all your friends will be jealous.
That's cool.
So we'll just maybe.
Well, I've just never had a pedalboard without noise too, so that's what I'm
Yeah,
pretty
well-
excited for.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Here.
So now is just kind of run everything through, and then we'll see what we can get for power. I do I do obviously custom wiring and stuff, but I also really every once in a while I like to just kind of do this and make it as clean as we can, like with these cable. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh cool, that was nice and quick and easy, and kind of did everything we needed it to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Well, and I get like with this thing, you're not even gonna see the cables.
Yeah. But then also just so that you have it and it all kind of works. And, all right, so we got 1 and 2, but I mean like that already. You know what I mean? Like it's just nice. It's,
Yeah, and you got the nice right angle.
yeah. So it gives us that. Okay, so this one is going to give us a little bit extra length, but that will be. And then also we have the current doubler. So that one I also want a short cable because we don't need that to be long at all. Which is the white ones. I don't think I have any more of the yellows. Oh yeah, the purple's actually the long ones, I think.
Yeah, I have no idea what's in there.
Those red ones are really small too. There's the red and then there's the yellow. These are the small, tiny ones. A couple of those would be nice. It goes to vintage Ibanez.
Oh really?
Yeah.
They really thought of everything with these little packs, didn't they?
They have. Yeah, One Spot does a really cool job giving you all the things that you need. So
Oh, I got a couple more in here.
yeah, those yellow ones are great because those are nice and tiny.
These are
And I'm just gonna double check. It is the same cable, but I just to be ever so sure.
these white ones look short.
Yeah, the yellows are the shortest, and then I believe the whites are the next shortest.
And the blacks are all one size.
And then the blacks are the long ones, yeah. And then they also have the purples, which I think are like extra long.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't need any of those. Shorter the better.
Okay, well I got another white.
Yeah. So the way that I think we'll probably wire this is we'll run all of your power underneath and we'll do all of your audio up top.
Sweet.
And then it just gives us a little bit of isolation. I'm curious, have you ever heard of people, because everyone has a different belief on this as well, but have you ever heard of people, you have to always have 90-degree angles and that kind of stuff with your power and audio? Have you ever?
I've never heard this.
Okay, so that's a thing that a lot of people
picking up a noise sort of situation.
basically, yeah. So anyway, the reason why I say that is because we're not going to do that. It's not necessarily because the voltages are so low. We're not dealing with high voltage stuff. If you had a lot of like say fuzz and stuff, you may run into those problems. Also with a fuzz, you're normally not going to be running that off of a power supply. They're going to be running off like a battery lead. But the reason why is because, yeah, when you go parallel, it was kind of a belief that you couldn't cross them or couldn't run because it's just going to add noise.
Right.
Because the voltage is just so low, it's not something we have to worry about. So we can kind of run everything in the same way. Also because you don't have a huge thing. If you had like a ridiculous board, maybe you would start running into some of those issues. But I don't think we're going to have to worry about any of that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of the idea. And then we can... Got power there, got power there, got power there. And we can kind of just lift off. Once that all happens, then we'll kind of, I guess we can bolt them in.
Sure.
And then we'll just undo them one at a time as we're doing the audio up top.
Right, because then you're going to be flipping all the time.
Yeah. So I'd like to do kind of the power once, and then we can just undo, or I can manage them. That's fine. And this actually, we can move this right out, and we can also access a lot of that. So I'm okay with that. Okay, so power. We'll run this guy in here. It's a little bit easier too to run the 9 volts. I guess it also depends on how you have your pedals laid out, but I like to do the right angles on the top so that underneath it's just a nice clean. On the power supply side, you don't have all these angles kind of bending into each other. But again, it depends on how your pedals are configured. I personally, there's nothing wrong with it because obviously you need to have your space. I try to get all my pedals, which is like 3 tiers deep, sort of. I actually was running them sideways and it drove me crazy. I just like the vision of being able to sit down, looking at it, and it looks great. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I know.
And it's just a totally personal preference, and that's the funny thing about building a pedal board is that everyone has a different belief, everyone has a different style, everyone has a different thing. And I mean, like, there's a lot of guys, our friends that like, we would send photos back and forth. It's like, hey man, check it out, I'm working on my board. And you're like, oh, cool. Why are you putting that there? Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's not how I would do it.
I mean, I think the order from the order thing has always made pretty good sense to me. But yeah, it's just cabling and shit like that. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I just kind of want to throw them in there so we can do our power back and forth.
Then I can contribute just a small amount, you know?
Yeah, it's all good. That's also a part of it though, right? Like you can kind of see what's happening, but also you're like, oh no, I totally did that as well. And then once we get that, we'll put this plate back in, your support bracket. And then this one we're going to Velcro, so I'm not going to worry about that one at the exact moment. Just want to make sure that still fits here. It does. Okay, great. We'll do that one kind of last, I think. That one needs to go in.
Also, just can't believe I'm going to have MIDI on a pedal board.
Yeah.
Seems crazy to me.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah, we'll see. There's only one on there, I guess.
And then you have one more for
that guy.
For the Hoff.
I had a buddy called me and kind of plays guitar, and he said, "Oh, I got a Hoff pedal, a Hasselhoff pedal, but it doesn't sound very good. It doesn't make me sound like Hasselhoff."
Hasselhoff.
He didn't know what a reverb was.
Yeah.
But he got the Hoff pedal.
You got the Hoff pedal. Well, that's I'm trying to think. What's his song? His German song? What is that song called?
He made music?
Oh, dude. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. It's kind of comical, actually.
Spotify, David Hasselhoff. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Still got 330,000 monthly listeners.
It's the same songs. I don't think he's doing anything new, but...
True Survivor from Kung Fury.
Yeah. Just go away with that. It's good though. He's got his stuff. He knows what he's doing.
How did I not know this?
I don't know. You'll have to turn that off though, or go over there, just because of my YouTube. Yeah,
An
it's pretty
album
good.
cover?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't want to get copyright strikes.
Oh, yeah. Didn't even think about that.
It's all good. Not that there's anyone there, but the rhythms will pick that up.
Yeah.
So they'll hear something and
easily,
then
eh?
oh yeah, and then I'll get a strike. So that's why there isn't. I mean, I do listen to royalty free stuff, but it's just easier because we're sitting here talking and stuff. But that's the reason why I is trying to find those, and it's great though because it's like that's a huge thing. Obviously, everyone wants to get. We're in the music industry. Everyone wants to get paid for what they're doing, right? So that's a huge thing. But okay, actually, I think we might run the same one here off of that. How much space do we? Oops. How much space do we have on that? Just trying to see if this reaches all the way over to our power supply.
Well, is it on top?
No, I'm just it's in the back. I'm just trying to see if I want to just go with a little bit of a longer one, which I think I will. So that's that one. Actually, we might not have a longer one. Or actually, I think that's the purple ones. Which I think.
Yeah.
I think
got a couple of those right. What's the blue?
Is it the blue or purple? Oh yeah. Actually, the blue is going to be just a tad longer. I don't need a ton more. I just need. And actually, if we run it this way as well, underneath this, then it will be. It'll give us that space we need. Okay. All right. All right, we're all impressed. There you go. Cool. And that's at top. Pull that through. There we go. Okay, so with the exception of this one, I'm not too worried about that because we're going to have, with all these adapters, there's going to be a lot happening there. So we'll kind of just do something like that with that one. We should be able to flip it. Nice. So yeah, so those ones we're just going to keep. So this this double edged is what's going to go to the line 6, and then we'll run. So also want to make sure I'm not on rough on any of your pedals. No, it's just the volume pedal. No, it's not sitting on the volume one. So, I know, but still. Again, I don't want to be the reason why. Okay, so we have two 250s, and I just want to double check and see what that was. So the wireless. Oh yeah, I plugged in the wireless, but we're not. No, we're gonna underpower it.
Yes, that was the plan.
Yeah. Okay.
In a 250.
Yeah. And then that was the only one. Oh, and then the 500. Okay, so the Boss DD 500, which is, I believe, there. Yep. So that is this one. So that one is going to go to 250. And then what? Wireless, which is this one up here. This one, which is the yellow, which doesn't actually even fit. So that's actually a good thing because we just gained another short cable. So we need to get a white one there.
With amperage, like, are you usually cool to give pedals like too many amps?
Yes, you can. I mean, obviously within reason, but as far as as far as the cable goes, it's because it will the device will only take what it requires.
Right.
Voltage is not something you can mess with. Yeah, voltage you need to match that. So we just have a right angle. Yeah, we do. So we can run that up there. Oh, I guess we could have done that too. Come around this way.
Yeah, my first day of audio school, I fried
No,
I fried an old wah pedal using a DL4 power supply.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That will do it. Okay, and then everything else is the same. So we have our dip switch off on that. So then it's just kind of taking up all the space that we can. Again, I'm not worrying about that one. And this one I'm going to change out because now this is super long. And this is probably the shortest one of the whole lot. And then sometimes I just, you know, move it over to the extra one to eat up a little bit of that slack, but okay. So yeah, actually, it's actually looking pretty good. We don't have a lot of unnecessary wiring underneath there, and then we'll zap that, make that look pretty. Now, with the exception, is that everything? So that goes to here.
Yeah, well, we
And then we've got the wireless, and then the cable for this guy. So we just need the one more, yeah. I just want to make sure that everything's plugged in. Okay, so this one is going to go, hopefully we can get just this out. And then we're going to go current doubler. Oh, and then another one of those short cables like that. Look at that.
Hey, this would take, I think this is what I was thinking of, that would take an 18.
Is that an active buffer? Or is that?
Yeah, it's a buffer.
Yeah, so that's probably what the LED is doing, or the power on those like Boss pedals, for example. You can actually turn off. You don't have to power it because it's actually just the LED.
Right.
Like if you ever look at
this, is that what you think this is?
Perhaps because it's probably, it looks like it's just a pass through, so it's probably the LED. We can open it up. Is it just a flathead or just a Phillips there?
These.
No, you got, or that's the LED there. Yeah.
No, but like.
Yeah, it's just taking those off. Yeah. Yeah, these jacks might work for you. It's probably the next one, huh? The far one there, yeah. Okay, so we got current doubler going into cable, going into polarity change, going into garden hose. But the nice thing is, though, is you, like I said, you won't have to worry about that perhaps falling apart or having issues or.
Yeah, a monkey wrench. They're just a little bigger.
Yeah, the third drawer. There's soft ones if you use the. Those ones are soft. Okay, so sorry, I'm gonna.
Yeah, because they're just like plastic heads.
Yeah. Okay, actually, I'm gonna run you in this. We'll run that angle. Okay. Lost it. Marco.
Oh,
I guess you never got that as a kid, eh?
yeah, you did that.
Yeah.
You did that to me.
Yep, so the power jack is just going... Oh, actually, that one's a little tough to see. I was going to say, it looks like it's just going to LED. No, there's a little bit going in there. Okay, that's fine.
The circuit board of sorts.
Okay, that's fine.
Try something.
Yeah, we do also have... There is extra volts there. So, and there's 18... We have an 18 volt 100 amp, so that's fine. So even if we do end up using that, that's okay. Okay, so that's going to go there. So that is wired and good to go. So I'm not worrying about the cleanliness at this exact moment. Why are we still missing one? What is happening? Because that's going there for this. That's going here for this. Oh, yeah, right, spark. This is the stuff that you before we go crazy and strapping all these down, because ask me how I know, but oh, this looks awesome, that's great, and you strap it all down, you haven't plugged anything in, and you're like, oh, cool, absolutely nothing works. That's wonderful. We'll clean all these up. So hypothetically, now at this moment, for the very first time, live on we should be able to see everything. Turn on. And then we can just kind of go cable by cable, and we're starting our. Oh yeah, thank you. I'm like, what? How do I? Right.
Well, that's the only part I actually put in, Jeff. So.
Yeah. Nothing. Oh, just kidding.
That won't turn on because it needs input signal. Yeah, it's input mono. All right, that'll turn on. That won't probably do.
Well, that's gonna be the same thing.
Yeah. And then yeah, that's a good thing.
It is.
Lights
Yeah.
up.
Everything lights up. Everything's on at the same time. Nothing's like, blowing up on us. So that's good. Cool. Well, there's step one. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Spin it slightly. That's my heater. It's, yeah. And then we've got everything we need on that. Sweet. Now we can actually start strapping that all down and putting audio in.
That's sick.
That's the first part is, and then once we got everything powered and we know that all of our measurements are accurate and so forth, then we can we can go about it. So we'll start back in on this, and now that everything's also strapped down as well, it's nice because you can go back and forth and flip and not have to worry about it. So I'll just give ourselves a little bit more space here. I don't need this. We'll keep the MIDI out. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. I'll just put this behind me, but just to give me a little bit more breathing room. And we'll need this in a moment, but not. It's half the reason why I built 4 benches in here. Is just so that I have.
Just to put stuff.
Just so I have somewhere else to dump things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and wireless I don't need to worry about right now either. Cool. All right, so the first thing is we'll figure out that mounting bracket.
Right.
Put this in a spot that makes sense. That's cool.
And then here, can I see one of those? Yeah, because that's not really long enough to put a spacer in.
No, but I mean that's an easy thing. Like you can just take that, go to your local hardware store and kind of find a riser. Do you want to put it beside it? Do you want to put it?
Yeah, beside. Probably closest to the middle. I think it gives it some sort of structural integrity.
That's what they say. I think it's half made up.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, obviously. That's the funny thing is when you see these boards that are like super long and they just bow like crazy, and it's so the support system definitely does its trick. It also it also keeps the space. That was the one thing I found with these, especially on the little bit longer ones. I can't remember what board I had. I think it was.
Did you have like that way?
Yeah, it was a little bit. Yeah, I didn't want it to be wider. I wanted it to, and then I was like, tiers. You can do tiers, and then that was it for me. So. Also, those would... No, I guess it's sitting on top. I was going to say, those would rock on you anyway, wouldn't it? But these are sitting on... Because you got the same amount of height, yeah.
I mean, theoretically. I think if... I don't know. I feel like that's a little thicker, maybe.
Oh, now I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so... The only thing I want to strap down first before I start cleaning up that power is just getting to this one.
Yeah.
We'll do this audio and then we'll strap all that down because I'm going to have to take this in and out.
Right.
And also wire this up, but we can come back to that. Because we'll have to run just an auxiliary cable there as your backup plan. When and if.
Yeah.
I can tell you've done this professionally thing before.
Why? Because it's all...
No, because it's like...
Smush?
Because it's all smushed. No, because you need a backup plan.
Oh, yeah. Always, man.
No, nothing's never gone wrong live. It's always been pretty... It's been pretty good for me.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to trust wireless after a certain while, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be, for sure. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of forego it. I personally, I'm also a wireless guy. I just found cables to be really constricting. And then also there's the people that like to have like a 40-foot cable behind them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But
I'm just real clumsy.
yeah, I find myself too. I'm not quite as active like when I'm playing on stage, but it's just like, yeah, if you're moving around doing your thing, and especially if you're playing on like bigger stages, which you are, like catwalks and things like that, it's just like Now it starts to get a little,
But then
and then you're like
also-
pulling it behind you, you know.
I also find occasionally with that thing, the problem I have is it's got a scan feature, so you can scan a bunch of different bands, right?
Yeah.
But if you're doing a sound check, it's a totally different thing versus when all the people come in, right?
That's also
For
true.
scanning
Yep.
the bands.
Yep.
And so some days, some places it works fantastic, you know, like hearing it through my in-ears, like way back behind the stage and all the way up to the end of the catwalk. And then some days I can't walk like 10 feet from my board, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just kind of decides how you're going to play that day sometimes.
It does, yeah.
Which is okay.
At least you're,
But sometimes you're not in the mood, you know? Sometimes you want to move around.
yeah. Catering was a lot of pasta today, so like I'm
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
okay.
staying here.
Yeah, I'm okay to just chill here. Also, don't be behind me. But all right. So the cool thing is with a lot of these like sawdust cables, again, really quick and easy. It's the same thing, just a thinner wire. So we're just gonna cut it.
Right.
I'll just grab these cutters. And then you just cut it flush, and it will do. And then we just put it in on an angle.
Does it just screw in?
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Yep, it's exactly the same thing. So I give it a little bit of slack just so we don't have to necessarily like totally fight it. Because keep in mind you also have to have the distance too. Can we see it? Yeah, so we also have the distance of when it's going into the barrel. So when you're coming down the barrel, so you gotta have just cut a little bit extra. So you're like, oh, that's exactly where the bend is, but then give yourself that extra space to, again.
Oh, you don't even have to screw those ones in? Like they just...
No, they do. They got a top. They go on them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but they just touch the tip?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
because those Diodera ones, you gotta like screw into the...
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
you just
every
kind of
once in a
push it
while
in
they
there.
just don't sit nice.
Yeah, and that's kind of the drawback a lot of times on those. So the one thing you want to be careful of, I had a feeling, I didn't know if those cables, if that was going to do it, but I'm not going to use those. I'm going to have to go with cable cutters. The one thing is you have to just make sure that you are cutting them cleanly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because everyone kind of gives you a different philosophy on these as well, but you commonly don't, like, you want them to be a nice clean cut, and you want to be able to see the difference between your shielding and your core wire. And then you just pop it into all the way down.
Yeah.
And there's a pin that's actually in there that's going to connect into that, and then the shielding, and then you just kind of give it a good push.
Wow.
And then around the angle.
Pretty easy.
Yeah. And then we screw in the back. And then the back is going to cut through the wire and go into your grounding.
Got it.
So this is what you want to do. But the one thing, and this was my mistake when I was first started with this stuff, is I was trying to cut, and then I like stripped the barrel back, and I stripped the wire back, trying to get the ground into the sheeting, and you just don't have to do that. So lengthwise, we have a little bit of extra, but I'm okay with that because we'll kind of give it, oh, actually that's probably a little too long. It's okay. It's good that I practiced. Now I can cut it off. Let's make sure I'm doing that correctly before I snip more off. So checking my cable tester. And another thing I like to do, especially on these, I don't know if you can, oh yeah, you can see that. The one thing I would like to do is just kind of wiggle the ends.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to give you that. I call it a dummy
So
check.
you know
but
it's stage proof.
yeah. It's check proof. So
Oh, well, this one's just going into the
You-
compressor, right? Didn't we say that? Wireless compressor, then volume?
yeah. Again, I was just testing you.
Oh.
So actually, that's probably now too short, but it's okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Probably use it for
We got
something
tons of
else,
this. Yeah. No, so it's all good. Yeah, so we're going out of this into into that guy. So I think I actually even have some of those smaller cables. Kind of have this army of it all sitting beside
Yeah,
me
the
here,
pile.
so, yeah, and that's what a lot of these are. I go pretty aggressive, pretty hard with them when I'm doing this like test, just to make sure that the cable doesn't crap out
Oh,
on
yeah,
us.
there's nothing worse than being on stage and...
Yeah, and then trying to find which one it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just knowing that you, like, can't push a pedal at a certain angle because it'll go...
Yeah, which obviously is kind of the exact opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here. And then those little connections, I do actually like to give just a little bit of extra slack. I don't go super tight where it's like a straight line, just so we're having a little bit better luck there. So that's nice and clean. So that will work. And that one we're going to come back to, so I don't want to... Oh, I guess we could take the volume pedal off. I was going to say, I don't want to cut that wire right now. We'll do that later. Our auxiliary. So I think I actually might just leave this, to be honest. I think I might, that one's good. That one's good. And I'll just do this. Just so we can kind of keep working.
Yeah.
And then when I get to strap down mode, it's good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that. So we're going out of that into that. Now we're going out to volume. So I'm gonna actually pull this guy out. Just enough so that we can grab it. And this is the fun game. This is where things get. This is where things just get off the rails, man. Like.
Things are getting crazy.
Yeah, so look out. Sparks are flying. It is going to be unreal in here. So we're going out to here. Almost perfect. Yeah, as you can see, all two people, which is these two computers. We had a couple spikes, but
Nice.
I'm not at in the slightest am I worried about it. But it's one of those things where, like I said, this more so is kind of, it's going to be great because we can actually chop this up and use this. That is a little weird because of all the compression settings. This is a little bit more like representative of what it actually looks like and stuff, which it's not bad. So it works well. Oh right, I got to edit that part out. Don't talk about that part.
Don't talk to it during live.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just chop up a little bit.
All the comments are just, this guy's got stupid pedals and he doesn't know what he's doing.
No. I would take a comment.
Yeah.
I would take a comment at this point.
You should go on there and be a fake commenter.
Yeah. Are you even real?
This guy sucks.
You're such a bot. Yeah, it's cool when the stuff, it starts to move pretty quick because now that we've got it all laid out, now we're good. And I will throw these jackets on when we have the ability to do so, just so that we have, it gives you like just a little bit of protection. If you have the ability to, anyway.
Shielding, right?
Sort of. De-dusting, I call it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't all hooked up together because I was going to say a really cool thing that we could do is actually hear the difference. I actually just finished a guitar last night. It was a Jazzmaster, and it was like the issue with it is that it was super noisy, and it's like, well, you know, whatever. I don't know if you're going to be able to find that. And then actually hearing the difference, I had it plugged in here, and because I shielded the whole cavity.
Yeah.
What a difference.
What do you use for that? Just like the tape stuff, or?
Yeah, I use the foil because there's a couple different things you can do. I don't like using, there's like a paint that you can use.
Yeah.
I don't like the paint. It's super messy, and it's actually really difficult to get a really nice finish with it. Like not only cosmetic, like to actually look at, but also that it works.
Yeah.
It just seems, it's still too long. It just seems to be.
You probably need a lot of it too, right? To get a good clean connection.
You do, yeah. It's definitely a couple of coats.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is not is not really something that I'm gonna cut just a tad more off.
I've done it on a couple guitars.
Oh yeah.
I just used tinfoil on one.
Yeah, I was gonna say the thing is that I've actually seen people use tinfoil and actually had pretty good results with it. Like
yeah, I think it took me 2 goes. I think because I think the first time I just had a cable touching the tinfoil or something, so it was actually causing, like, it was causing my pickups to cut out.
That makes sense.
But I think I did it. I don't remember. Yeah, my cooter caster, we did some crazy stuff because we couldn't. I work, or I used to play a lot with this old English guy who was like teched in the 80s and teched for years and stuff like that. So he's always putting like, he's got a big bronze block in the back of his Strat for sustain and stuff.
I love those guys. Yeah,
he's the best.
Yeah,
and we put an aluminum plate underneath my. Have you seen those lap steel pickups, the sandwich pickups?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've got one of those with an aluminum plate, mounting plate underneath. Which, who knows if it's doing anything, but.
What is the purpose for that?
You know, it might have just been that's all we had lying around at the time. I can't remember, honestly. I swear he had a good reason for it. He's a welder. So
oh, okay.
He's got, he can build anything in the shop pretty quickly. But then it's never fun taking your guitars around when there's metal shavings all over the place, right? Like,
yeah.
It's not sawdust. It's like, and then I remember one time bringing a guitar back from there, and it had metal shavings all over the pickups. You know?
Oh, yikes!
But he's sure creative.
Yeah, well, they tend to be, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of half of the fun of all of this, really.
Yeah.
Is
he teched for this guy Bill Nelson, who was in this band Bebop Deluxe, and apparently they were a big thing in the 80s in Britain. But Clive got to play rhythm guitar for a bunch of it. And John Paul Jones was a huge fan.
oh wow,
And so he's played rhythm guitar right in front of John Paul Jones, which I think is really cool.
that is cool. What's that extra tone you got? Oh, it's. I was making.
it's bronze.
I was making a bed.
Yeah. I cut the leg off the bed.
Yeah.
I cut one leg a bit too short, and so I said, you know what, this will fit right into my bridge.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, he's one of those guys. Great guitar sound. He always likes to say, yeah, he's like, Bill Nelson sounded fantastic until he got fractal. And he sounded like shit.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Actually, is just the difference of playing digitally. Yeah. And there's a lot of that's always a funny conversation. It seems like a lot of the, I guess I would call them the experienced guys. They've got a different belief system.
Yeah. My thing was when Knopfler did his last tour. He was a Kemper.
Oh yeah.
So that's when I was like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Well,
if he's doing it, man,
exactly.
Like, yeah, that's, and like, I'm sure he had some guy spend months making the money for nothing sound absolutely identical, right? Yep. And he's the guy that, like, I saw from the last stadium tour that the Dire Straits did.
Yep.
I found a picture of his amp settings, and it was every song. The amp was getting changed, like, you know, at least one turn on every knob, like from 8 to 9 on every, like, at least something like that.
Like, so, we're getting louder as the night goes on, or like everything had a different setting?
Yeah, everything had different settings.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that guy's had a guitar tech doing that for him in the 90s, and now that's
just what he's living on, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's on in-ear monitors now. Like, that's another conversation too. It's like, so if you're playing every night, and like this tour we're about to go on, like we're playing, some like theaters. Yeah. But then we're also playing some like 150 cap rooms, like bar rooms. Yeah. Right. We're doing all that stuff in the States. Yeah. Canada, she's a bit bigger, but, so it's like, I'd almost rather have the in-ears in the tiny clubs. Yeah. Because it's like, that's when you like blow your hearing, right?
Totally.
You're standing next to the drummer, so, I don't know. I hate using earplugs.
Yeah.
So, but when you're using the digital stuff, you know, or if you're using an amp and there's a mic on it, there's not much difference in your ears as it would be using an amp or digital stuff, right? But I've even had, like, over the last, like, month or so, there's a couple engineers I've been working with, and they said, well, why don't we just use your pedal? Like using the HX.
Yeah. Rather than actually record or anything.
Well, rather than, well, just because it's sound from right?
Yeah.
So I don't know too many people like Marshall has their studio, you know.
Exactly.
Well, if they know how to use them.
Yeah, they know how to use them. That's another big thing. So what I'm just doing here is I'm just using a little isopropanol, so basically rubbing alcohol, and we're just going to clean the jacks, especially on these ones that are a little gnarly. Just we're going through all this effort, giving us better connections, giving us better cables. We're making sure everything's nice and clean, and an extra 30 seconds. Get all the stuff out of the output jacks or out of the jacks. Kind of give us a nice clean connection. You can see that there's a bunch of stuff on it. Yeah, so I'm releasing the Mojo, but I didn't think about that until I started looking at this one. I was like, oh yeah, right, I was actually going to do that. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I said, it's a dirty stage, and that all makes sense. But this allows us just to kind of have a little bit of a. Again, we're going through all this effort, and we might as well spend an extra 30 seconds just clean the ends and just get all that stuff out of there.
And this pedalboard played around.
That was something else. Yeah, it was about, there you go. So, yeah, that was a hot stage.
Yeah. I did Saturday, 2 stages back to back.
Yeah.
Like I had 5-minute changeover.
Yeah, well, thankfully only at 10 feet, but.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I had my board and amp.
Oh, to run across, yeah.
On one stage.
Yeah.
And then I had my legs.
Yeah.
Still set up on.
Which is pretty cool though. That makes you feel pretty rock star for sure.
Except for when they're like staring at you like a minute behind start time, and everyone's just kind of sticking. I'm like, oh, my steel's not in tune yet, you know?
Yeah. How was that my fault?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're the one that brought a monitor guy instead of a guitar tech. The stupid.
Yep.
Okay.
I am when I'm banjoing. But
Do the finger picks.
yeah. When I'm banjoing, but I seem to find myself because I do like fingerstyle kind of guitar. So I find myself to be more playing banjo like that.
Yeah.
Unorthodox as a banjo player. I've tried that. I've tried to figure. I try my hardest. And it just
so hard to get.
it just feels so uncomfortable for me. I just don't like the feeling of
The
it.
muting and
Yeah.
everything. Like, because I want to be able to like play steel with the finger picks and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
But because there's definitely like, I find I'm sure it's a band or two. I know I can hear a difference. Or I tend to play differently because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick this note because I want a brighter attack.
Yeah.
Like you can't get.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's the girls here.
Or is it?
That's why people come here, man.
Well, man, if the bots are looking for you, maybe
Dinner.
other people.
Yeah. Dinner and a movie. So. That's all. Like I said, it's all good. It's also one of those things too. Like it's just being able to share this on a regular basis. Like I said, I realize this is quite niche, so it's not something for everybody. But it seems to be the concept is there. So
Well, it's just, I don't know, you're knowledge about like subjects too that like, I don't know, I'm playing stuff.
yeah, well that's
And I watch a lot of guitar YouTube.
yeah, and that's kind of the idea, right? Like, cool. Let's
Like a lot. I
Yeah.
watch a lot of them.
Yeah. But it's good though, because I mean that's really part of it is being able to know not obviously your craft and how you're playing your guitar, but maintenance is a huge topic.
you know, you get on stage and something doesn't work and it buzzes and it does this and why is it doing that, or how do I make that work itself out, or and most people are like, I don't know, I don't know. And it's even, you know, obviously again, like you don't necessarily have to know how to fix a broken headstock or something on the side of stage, but even when you're trying to your action flipped out or something, or you took a flight, you know, that would be a huge thing that I would think for you. You're on a plane and all of a sudden you're on the other side and it gets super cold or whatever, and now your neck goes out of whack. You'd be amazed how many people can't even do that.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'd say I'm like a 75%.
yeah,
You know, on
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like, there's definitely like, I don't know, whether
yeah, exactly. But mainly the concept on that is that you have the ability of troubleshooting when you need to, right?
yeah, I should just take a look at this one. Oh, you pick up a lot of that. So when he put this
Yeah.
yeah, this is a bit of the speech.
Yeah, we can take a look.
But you got it close. Close.
Yeah.
Like, pick it again.
Yeah, I got a saw, man. I can do all sorts of things. A saw and a hammer.
Okay, next.
No. It is something I'm gonna do actually. I've got a body down there. I'm gonna be making probably like a junior-esque thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
when I get around to it, when I have the ability to do it. But yeah, I would like to actually make, you can kind of see the big slab. Look like a big brick. So I kind of want to make something similar to a junior, just a single pickup,
Yeah.
super gnarly.
Just focus more on the, for the guitar you wouldn't necessarily buy.
Well, that's the other thing. So I have on that bottom section there, you can kind of see, I think I was showing you that last time here, but I have this like, it's the Ibanez neck. It's a Gen Junior that I've stripped. I'm actually gonna go and put a maple cap on that and like make it super nice, even though it wouldn't normally be nice. You know what I mean? But that is a Floyd, which is not a guitar that I would normally buy. But it's like, you know what, that would be cool to have in the collection. And as far as the whole overall build, it's yeah, it would be something that I'm totally redoing. Like I said,
I think that would be cool, like Yamaha bike.
what's that?
That would like
Oh yeah,
the Floyd.
yeah. Oh yeah. That would be a fun conversation. And you know what, he
This
did.
is what I felt like.
Yeah, this is what I felt like doing. He did say make it play it like you would. I was like, you know what I really wanted to do on this one?
Yeah.
It is a,
Because I hadn't done it.
yeah, it's left-handed. So I hope you enjoy. I think this will fit into the, no, that's the send and return. This is where the cable will get a little hairy. I think I actually have to move this over one more. Okay, but we're there, so we're coming, oh yeah, right, that's this. So we got power and everything. We've got audio all the way up to the sound now. So we've got two more pedals. We're done.
So I thought you just said that he built. He did that. I don't really like the wood again on it, but it's like
big Pickard, yeah,
the
that's cool.
top is wicked. It's acoustics. Yeah, it is acoustics, man. That's so great. Doesn't do the finishes. Actually, pressure gets. He's always said it. He's got some cool woods and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Come check it
I
out.
was gonna build me before.
Oh yeah. Well, now you a rocket.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go.
Uh,
Which I was loving.
Sweet man. Yeah, that was a fun project. I had that one a little bit longer than I wanted, but that was a fun one. I like bringing those things to life.
Yeah. The one thing I will I use really bright. Hard to explain. It's string, but it doesn't do that. But I feel like that's an easy solve.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's been a lot of years of sitting, so that one definitely needs a little bit of persuasion to get to the full.
Yeah, like if you think maybe for you in for a setup after like a little while, you know.
Probably, yeah, because then it's kind of acclimating to your area and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's probably not a bad thing to do because I have it pretty nice in here. I do that kind of one reason.
And what do you
Generally, yeah, that thing. It's funny. Every time I post that, I had a couple people like commenting something about like that thing looks drier than a corn fart, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on, hold on, I gotta think about that one. But yeah,
it's real old though.
it is really old, yeah, but that is definitely a thing because then that's kind of what happened. So I started. That was actually the first thing I did. Was like beautify it, and then the neck because there was a belly happening in that.
Right.
There was a couple things going on with that one. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing to do. Also having a case for that. But unless you're like, do you just keep everything in a rack? Yeah. So even if you had something in the room comfortably, that would be ideal. These things, I don't know if I have one handy, but the little pucks, actually, yeah, these work actually really well. You can fill them up with water, put them in a case, like there's no, that you can put them in a case and it's giving you a little bit more kind of moisture than your Oasis or D'Addario ones that you're putting in the sound hole or underneath the headstock, things like that. That's giving you a little bit more before you get into the. I'm sure you've seen it like the D'Addario, like the patches, like yeah, those are good. Those are yeah. I mean, those do the trick. That's a little bit more moisture. And then those silica packs are great, but they're just incredibly expensive. That's the one where like that's D'Addario and it comes like in the box. You have to like pull the big sack out and it's like crystals. It's great, it's awesome, but that's not cheap. So over time, obviously, you're gonna be spending, but it's either you buy that or you have to get a lot of work done on your guitar. So there's multiple ways of looking at that for sure.
Wow. This gives it out.
Yeah, obviously that's a huge thing.
Lifelong guitar.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go, we're just, yeah, so the Hall of Fame is gonna be our out.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna be out of this into Hall of Fame and then we're gonna do effects loop into a,
Yes.
yeah. So you're asking about going stereo.
Yeah, so that was kind of my original thought because I like obviously I wanted to be stereo after here because that's important to me for this great stereo.
Mhm.
You know, having like a mono hard chords sort of thing. And because I'm doing a lot of those keyboard parts.
Yep.
Which I can make happen with delay. But if I was able to be running some of the stereo like sounds
Okay.
which is more ends up being like chorus and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Just like mod stuff. But then I could be running out there, keeping it basically like all stereo from here, right?
Mhm.
So if that was doable,
Yeah, so we can send basically it's like a TRS
Yeah.
to the 500 and then we can go stereo return. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would have to just be another cable.
man, this is so exciting. Pedalboard. Do you think I'll swap out this volume pedal? Yeah. I mean, I've had it for years and it's a fucking tank, you know, but, well, I'm just realizing how physically tall it is for going in the case compared to everything else. It's just, I have no in between. I have this and then I have the laser beam Hilton one. but that's for Steve.
Yeah, so I use Dunlop,
Right. Yeah.
but I like and
Yeah. Which I don't really think. Yeah. Which I don't really think I'll be doing on this. I kind of retired that habit after I busted my first helix. Which I will say mine 6 is warranty they can give you.
yeah. Well, this one, right now, I have cables, we can definitely make you one. I might cut them, because that's quite large. Don't really want to do that much with our input. Also looking for a stereo. Does that work for you though? If we just send, because I mean, we can even send a mono signal to this and then run stereo back.
Yeah.
Does that work for you? Or do you want to do stereo to this as
I
well?
was wondering if it would be possible to stereo, but I realized that's super annoying because like you have to do some sort of split situation.
Yeah, because you can get a Y cable, but then you can also send it separately. Because I'm just looking at that, I imagine that this can also accept a TRS cable. I don't see why I wouldn't. I mean, it is split up as a left and a right, but um, 'cause, yeah, that's what the A and B is.
Right. Wait, the TRS is stereo cable.
Yep. That's with the extra. That's with the extra. So like that would work there versus TS, which is that, right? So there's missing a ring.
Check.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Figure that out. Quick little bill.
yeah. Good to go.
And end up getting some turntables, man. I don't know what it is. Every time, that's what my recommended video is. Kittens on turntables. Yeah, so. Saying everything in mono.
I mean, if that's a weird thing, then yeah, I guess I just get a one pedal down.
Because we can run it.
Just put a normal. Yeah, just run it mono for now.
Yeah, so we can go, because even this doesn't have stereo out. Like you'd have to get a Y cable out of this. Is kind of what I'm saying. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I know.
so you have to go Y out of this, and then
Yeah, which is.
but then it would Y into that.
Yeah, which I just thought was. But yeah.
So what I can.
Sorry, I thought it had a left right now.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, but I think it also depends on how you want to do it. So
Yeah.
So yeah, we can do
That's
whatever.
fine. Let's just run it in mono to here, and then we'll just go stereo back in.
Okay. So then what I'll also do is I'll give you another cable.
Amazing.
And then when you get, and so then there'll be a lead that will go to this.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you another one. And then when you get that Y.
Yeah.
If you like, yeah, and then you already have the extra cable, and then everything stays brand happily rather than that one cable that's awkward or whatever. Okay, so we're gonna go just out to, I believe it's just that first in, right? I'm not quite ready to strap that down. Same thing with the volume. I want to just make sure everything's good and ready, and then we can strap those guys down. And then like here. So actually, we could probably just go right up through this. Look. To your left, there's a button on. right. This is pretty cool, being able to get a brand new board all put together. So this is the final home stretch here for Marcus. Cool, so that reaches, that works. So we'll just test that cable in, it's the right length. Go out in. Stereo return on that. Just a little bit longer. Yeah, it's fine, it's a crack. My girlfriend watched her bed, there we go. Oh, nice. Made it. Saw you, didn't know what's going on. I had a couple people who were like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to watch. That's cool. Completely stereo in and then stereo out. That's send out. Making sure I have that correct. So we're going to send out, then back into the return, and then the output into the whole thing. Right, right. Yeah, return, yeah, because that's the send and return. Gotcha. The 4-wire method. It can be, if you're not 100% sure exactly what it all even means. But it makes a substantial tone difference, like it really does. And this is cool because you have the ability to actually do that and you're incorporating all of your avenues. It's amazing how it's not necessarily a bad thing, but not having the ability of running just to its fullest potential, I'll say.
Well, I think if I wasn't trying to do all the keyboard, I think it's more just like the situation where there's like a great guitar player, but it's gonna be more like mono behind her vocal.
Yep.
Sort of thing.
Yep.
You know, like so this way, like good, and I'm kind of like communicating along with the front house guy. Okay, let's get this part like I'm trying to do as much as we can with tracks.
Totally.
Stuff is heavy, everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you have the ability to do that, then it makes it much more entertaining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to exercise all this sonic options.
Oh, wow. That was a repeat quote of the day there.
You like that?
Yeah.
That's the new title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exercising all the sonic possibilities. But yeah, it's just, it is fun, like, getting to like fun, the empty thing,
Oh, nice.
like, I don't know, just, yeah, trying to make, but with headline shows too.
Yeah.
So, cause it's like, yeah, I've always kind of done it to an extent of like, hey, make this sweet, but I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
this is the first time where it's like, yeah, headlight shows. How do I make this awesome?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're bringing like inflatable beach balls and everything like that. Those are gonna be going out the crowd.
Oh, nice.
We got stage props. We're gonna pick up like a bunch of turf when we get to Portland. That's gonna go in the van, and it's gonna be. Someone's gonna hang clouds every night. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna do that.
Yeah. There's someone there. And one, the length that we need, but it's not a good cable, so keep that for our next one. Actually, that one might work on the next one. It's too long as well. See, like any of the OCD, I've got the brass and then I've got the pedals. They all have to be, they all have to match. Yeah, they all have to match. Otherwise, tone's gonna suffer. You have to. That's also part of it, you know, like it looks better. And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, you do. 100%. I think that's the thing with me. Like, if you believe it's good, it's good. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's called personal preference.
Yeah.
I think that's what that's called.
But, confidence is so much better.
Oh, man. I just try and talk louder. People
Yeah.
like stand up and stuff. Yeah, the cool thing after this is kind of exploring tones and seeing what you can actually do, which that'll be pretty fun. Yeah. Oh, actually, before I snip these, I fully thought about this. Let's get the MIDI going. We got MIDI out, so we're gonna go.
This one is like,
Yeah, well, this also hasn't been Velcro down. I also haven't cut cables to length, so like I said, I'm glad I just thought about that. Then, not even really necessarily a pretty elaborate board though. I mean, it is a smaller board, but it's not like it's a well versed tool.
I just think when you get these two going, like the stuff you can do with those, right?
Yep.
I do kind of want to get the two because it's got the expression buttons, you know?
Yeah.
I think I think you know, I like that. It's definitely makes it.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, Louise. It's like just. But I'm also looking at these cable ends here that were like actually off the back of this. So I think what I'm gonna do is bring this, see if I can bring it up one notch. That's nice. How much of a difference it makes. Which also is nice too because
It would be the absolute perfect length.
I don't know where that was. Was where it was. Well, it kinda, to be honest, it's throwing off the flow in the back row here.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it does because it does match cable and power and stuff. And this will be in there as well. And also I like how the pedals roll like the
It's
same
so
size.
good. It's just brilliant.
We'll see. See how easy I get at it. Yeah, this is getting a little hairy in here, but it's okay. We'll clean this all up. There you go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that's not even powered.
Batteries in it?
Yeah, battery low.
You know, probably have back left. You couldn't get
Probably.
or I think the batteries came in it maybe.
That checks out.
With the battery recharging.
No.
Definitely been
Yeah. So that's generally a thing that you wanna. Basically a little bit of all of the above. A little bit of all of the above. Yeah. Help me help you. Connected.
Perfect.
It's gonna be cozy, but it will do the trick. If anything, it's actually nicer because then it won't, and we can kind of snug this in and you're so clear on the bottom, that then the tops are all the same, so aesthetically, Jeff's OCD brain works nicely with that. And then, yeah, we can, I probably would leave that, to be honest, just because this cable is quite tight.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that, so, whatever. But we got the one that's a little long, okay. And then, yeah, these cables are cool because you can actually slide the cable that's inside of it.
Okay.
In the sense of like you can change the angle. But it's not like normally because this is and they do come right angle, but because there's so many cables and stuff, normally it's like a big molded end, right? And if I had just a standard cable here, but in any case, those ones you can actually just loosen it and then spin it to the right direction that you need. So yeah, this guy's freaking out on us. So we will take that out.
Wow, look at that.
So then normally when you're doing this kind of stuff, we want to make sure that it's I think going in underneath is gonna be a little unnecessary. I was just gonna say the one thing you wanna do is give it a little bit of slack when you're in these types of situations,
Yeah.
just so that we have the ability. But you could also run it underneath that mini cable, but that was really the big one is now that we have that, we can, do this and then complete our connections, we know it's gonna reach, right? Include it.
Gonna be using this for teaching. I'll just set this on my rotation. This will be my stillboard too. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes it even easier because then if you only have the one thing to deal with, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be, especially if it's, doing effects and whatnot, so.
Well, I've actually started to always use amps with
Yeah.
enough to get
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I would really like to get into. Double steel.
it's almost just like
Yeah,
you know.
slightly.
But like, for me it was like, well, I got my first real one in COVID.
Yeah.
I was kind of doing I actually got some like cutting on some stuff. My old one that I melodied
Oh, yeah.
because it just like functionally it was like, and I also didn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
But like I don't think I had the ability to actually really adjust what the pedals were doing on that one. I had one evening where it was a 3x1.
Yeah.
But I still think it was like this old called Little Buddy.
Yeah.
I still think it sounded better than my GF5. I think the pickup sounded better than my GF5. Like my GF5, how to and then you see guys with like show buds and stuff like that, and you're like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure a whole bunch of that's how they're playing it.
Yeah.
But there's like a mid-range thing.
Yeah.
That other steels also have, and that sounds almost like, I don't know, maybe I'll try and pop pick up or something.
Yeah, that definitely would do the trick.
Well, but then I've also like read a lot of people saying that whatever the GFI 2
Yeah.
is actually George L, I think, makes
I
crazy steel pickups.
believe so. Yeah, yeah, I believe so.
Pretty sure the one that's in it is whatever, their version of it. They're branded for a gallery.
Oh, okay.
And I see guys with humbuckers and
Yeah. But it's also like the practicality, what kind of tone you're trying to get out of it. If you're trying to be traditional, if you're adding a lot of extra pedals, all
Yeah.
those things come into play, right? Like very similarly to the guitar side of things. So okay, step up just a touch of that, and then this one will be good. Then we have the output going to the Hall of Fame, and then we are, as far as signal goes, we are good. Now there's a couple options that we're still thinking about, and that's going into some out at the end, and so forth. But as far as turning the board on and getting signal out of it, we are there. And we will be able to play with it. Yeah, as far as you kind of figuring out, did you want to play your junior, or do you want the deluxe, or what do you want to do?
yeah, I just wanted to try, yeah, probably doing
Or sorry, junior,
experimenting with going with the ones who just obviously they're different size amps for
yeah.
getting a real tone thing out of it, but just stereo-ness, you know.
Oh, I see. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, well,
Because I do want to see, I would like to try this.
sure. Well, why don't you start setting up? There's power just in underneath, because I, like I said, I'm gonna have one or two more cables. There's power underneath here. There's a power bar, and we'll get that, and then we'll be able to get at least something going. Just on the home stretch here with this, which is actually pretty cool, going together quite nicely. It's funny that you mentioned right off the top, you're like, yeah, you know, it's taking me like 2 days to go through and da-da-da. You should ask my wife. Normally when I do like my own pedal board, it sits upstairs like for like a week. And I'm just like thinking everything through and I have to go crazy. So this, honestly, I was a little nervous when I was like, oh yeah, I'll just like do it live. I'm like, it takes me forever to do a pedal board.
When you're talking through with someone else,
It does, yeah, because you're kind of thinking about what you're trying to do and how you're trying to accomplish it. But yeah, it's kind of funny because originally I was like, okay, this is not gonna, this is gonna be terrifying. But yeah, but no, it's like I said, as far as like now it's like the easy stuff, couple straps to close it up, and we'll be good to go. And then you're ready to rock and roll. So yeah, we'll turn off that heater because it will blow down here. But as far as setting up, you can do so. And then now we've got your board in stereo, which is going to be pretty cool. And then yeah, I'll just give you like a longer cable.
maybe just give you maybe a quick rundown on how to MIDI.
No, you're on your own. Good luck, bro.
This is nice too, actually, because I wonder if I want to figure out if they make a right angle USB.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's accessible. It's not.
Because it's Velcro,
Yeah.
I'll literally go like that if I have to.
Yeah, but I think you actually might be able to squeak something in there. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that kind of works. We probably can do. We won't necessarily do it here. We can turn all this off when we're done. But we can essentially start programming that in coming up. What I might do is just kind of finish this like live-wise.
Yeah.
And then we can mess around with it. We'll do like a signal, just make sure there's something going.